Welcome to Love to See It, a podcast about Nic, Cierra, and Nicolandria.
And occasionally Shelly and Huda.
This is our podcast, okay? We make the rules and we do play favorites.
Yes, we do. We absolutely do. So this week, the two of us are going to dive into episodes 21 through 24. And then our BFF of the pod, Leigh Blickley Zulo, will be joining Claire to chat about episodes 25 and 26.
Yes, we are on vacation this week, so things are going to be a little weird. Emma planned her trip to Iceland based on our normal recording schedule, which is on Mondays, and then Love Island happened.
Fucked us up. It fucked me up. I'm so sorry, guys.
She's going to be on a plane on Wednesday. She had to share her thoughts on Nicolandria, which I truly respect.
I was legally obligated to. So that means that the first half of this recap will be taped on Monday, which we are in Monday right now. And then the second half of the recap, Claire and Leigh will do on Wednesday while I'm on a plane. Claire will be on a family vacation, so she'll be in a new location as I am right now. So if you're watching this on video, you can probably tell we're a little bit all over the place this week, but we are still so dedicated to Love Island that we are making it work.
Honestly, this is very fitting for Casa Week. It's like a lot of change, a lot of moving to different locations. True. So let's take this journey together. And before we get started, we just wanted to mention that if you're looking for coverage of the Ultimatum Queer Love, we got you. It's over on our Substack, Rich Text. You can find those episodes at claireandemma.substack.com.
And they are juicy, let me tell you. Okay, but let's talk about what I am really here for, which is Nicolandria.
Nicolandria. Oh my God. I have never had the experience watching a reality show I think that I had watching this arc unfolding.
Unreal. I mean, I guess we're not going to get to the part where I give my rating this week because I'm not doing all the episodes. But let me tell you, episodes 21 through 24 were my type on paper, like between a 9 and a 10.
To a T. I was like, oh, they finally figured out how to put a rom-com into a reality show.
They did it for us. This is like our whole ethos, our favorite thing. It is giving, it is firing on all cylinders. I am obsessed.
It was like watching the real people enacting a fanfic that you wrote about them because you loved them on Love Island.
And literally that is what happened, because I do think Nicolandria Hive rose up on social media and production heard, and they were like, let's give it a little test.
A nudge here, a nudge there.
And I'm not mad about it. Do more of that, producers. If it turns out this well, do more.
Oh my God, it was incredible. So of course, when we left off, Nicolandria and Nic had just been dumped during the Casa recoupling, but had also driven off together in a Jeep with a love license plate. Was Nicolandria gone or realer than ever? I think we knew which way this was headed.
Yes.
But back in the villa, Taylor and Ace don't know about that. They are literally in black and they are having a funeral for Nic.
They're doing mourning rituals.
It's so hard to lose somebody that close to you. We've been brothers since day one.
We've been brothers for 3 whole weeks, and now he's dead. I mean, I'm sorry, he's gone from this villa.
He's dead from this show. But Nicolandria are not dead. They are on a date in a torchlit jungle fantasy.
Hot.
I was like, am I in a dream?
And Claire and I are Cierra and Nic stans, but we are also Nicolandria stans. So I think I was texting you and Kelsey being like, I don't even know what I'm rooting for to happen. This is like a rare rom-com where everyone is someone that you like enjoy.
Yes. It's like a true choose your own adventure rom-com. There's no one of them that from the beginning you're like, obviously this is the one we want to end up with the lead, which I guess is Nic. Congrats, Nic. Like, we have Nic and Cierra. They're sort of like the longtime loves in the world of the show who have a rocky path with misunderstandings and betrayals, but can they find their way back to each other because their love is so strong? And then we have Nicolandria, the forbidden lovers, who would be betraying their friends to be together, but is it worth it? Because of the power of their love.
I love it. I love every moment of it. So Nic and Nicolandria are on a date, but they're also here to spill the tea on what has been happening in the villa and in Casa. I will say that because they ultimately end up going back to the villa, the men have so much more insight into everything that has been going on than the women do. And I did not enjoy that.
It's kind of unfair.
It is.
I wondered if they made this decision based on the Nicolandria and Taylor and Cierra dynamics specifically.
100%. 100%.
That they really saw, like, for example, Cierra is really still thinking about Nic all the time, crying over Nic, hoping that he's behaving like she is. Whereas Taylor is like, I think I like Clark more than Alandria. She's like Alandria in a sexier body to me. Like, that's what I need. So he needed to have Alandria there to kind of
that's absolutely what happened. It is better dramatic tension on all ends to have them back in the villa. So I do understand.
But it's annoying.
It is annoying to me because I prefer the women to have more information.
So Alandria tells Nic that Cierra's coupled up with this guy, Elan, and he reminds her of Nic, which Nic doesn't like to hear.
But, like, let's be honest. There are some similarities in Luke.
Like Cierra, I love a curly-headed scamp, you know?
They're both like very cute. Yeah. No, I get it. No judgments here.
Yeah. But she says, you know, your conversations are more giddy, and theirs is more like they could be a power couple, which I guess is because they're talking about
what is that
astrology like power couples do.
Well, we all know that's how it works.
And another thing I love about this storyline is that we get to really see Nic laying out the comeuppance of a man in an open relationship. Like, that's just so satisfying to actually see in front of you. He's like, she wanted to be more closed off and I wanted to be more open, but now she's found someone else and I haven't, and it's really painful.
Serves you right, Nic. Feels good.
Should have closed down.
Feels good to be us watching. I'm literally doing a little dance. I'm like, yes, learn your lessons, sweet man. It's like just the right amount of comeuppance. Because we all know Cierra's coming back to Nic. But
yeah, no, he needs to suffer.
He needs to suffer. He needs to sweat a little bit.
I think that's part of what makes a show like Love Island actually a better foundation for a rom-com style arc, is the ability to kind of flip that power dynamic at any moment. Allows them to like reach that sort of like back and forth and parody that you see in a good rom-com. Like, when everyone's just competing for one guy or one woman, you never really get that in the same way, and it kind of undermines the romantic tension.
Well, that's why I feel like we've had our best rom-com moments over the years on Bachelor in Paradise.
Yes, 100%. So Nic tells her that he has to put aside his friendship with Taylor to be honest with her, which is a real uh-oh moment for Alandria. He says
and
that
the honest truth is that Taylor likes someone better than Alandria. He doesn't say that, but that is the implication.
But he lays it out.
He kind of does.
He lays it out in the exact way that should alarm her, which is that he feels both an emotional connection and a physical connection with Clark, which he did not have with Alandria at the beginning. It took a while to develop a physical connection, and he's like, that really raised some flags for me. Basically, like, too. He's more into her. Alandria gets a little heated. She's like, I've been Team Taylor since day one. If he throws that away for a physical connection, he was never fucking mine. And, like, he wasn't. He was just coasting, and it becomes more and more clear that he was letting her, like, court him and build this bond so that he would stay. And why not just keep getting to explore a relationship and wait for someone else to come in?
100%. And he clearly thinks that Alandria is cool, and he knows she's objectively very beautiful, and everyone in the villa loves her. So that's working for him until someone better comes along, and this was his opportunity. And it's such a fucking bummer because look, I like Taylor. I'm not a Taylor hater, but he is so mid compared to Alandria.
I know.
It's like there is no justice in this world.
Then they get a text saying they can leave single, and then they have to leave the island, or they can couple up and return to the villa. And they agree they have to go to the villa. Nic grabs her hands, and she's like, oh, I can't wait to like go see what's going on. And Nic stops her and is like, to be clear, I've always been into you. we never really had a chance to explore it. It was just like a fun secret admirer thing. But that's how I feel.
At this point, I was like, oh my God, is Nicolandria actually happening? This is crazy. I also want to note that this is one of the moments that I'm thinking production might bring back to play for Cierra during movie night.
Yeah, no, I think that would be probably rough to see as Cierra, that he's been watching her friend and having a crush on her. But in this moment, like in a rom-com,
I loved
put
it.
the other person out of your mind and you're just like, oh, the feelings are real. My heart is skipping several beats. Like this, you could just see Noah Centineo like playing him in a made-for-TV movie about this reality
100%.
show romance. And Alandria is shocked, but she's like, yes, I notice you always like kiss me in challenges, but we never actually had a conversation. She's like, what the fuck, Nic? And Nic looks so happy. He grins. He's like, vamos to the villa. And then he kisses both of her hands. I was a puddle on the floor.
Same.
Unwell.
The show is making me so unwell. I'm like,
and it's whiplash because I'm like crying for Cierra, and then I'm like, Nicolandria is real. They're in love.
I know the show is doing things to us.
It really
You know what? The world is a very dark place. I need this.
We do need this. And I have to hand it to not just Alandria and Cierra, my faves, but look, also Nic, who I don't know if you guys know this, but I'm also fond of Nic.
Is he not your fave?
He has the rom-com hero eyes.
No,
like
he does.
When he smiles at a woman that he
Claire, it's the crinkly eyes. It's the crinkly eyes. It's like they twinkle. It's the Noah Centineo thing. It's the Jesse Bradford in Bring It On thing that we always talk about. He you know what? Some people just have it. He has it.
When he looks at a woman he is into, you can feel the warmth. You can feel the longing. Like, it comes through the screen. You're like, maybe he's in love with me. Like, I feel it so powerfully that, like, maybe he is in love with me.
Don't tell Greg.
Listen, I understand that TV is not real. So Nicolandria have to head to the villa. And meanwhile, the Casa boys and the Villa girls are comforting their woebegone partners who are grieving their friends. Except for Jaden, who feels really bad about sending Nic home, and Austin, who is less sad and more eager for Jaden to be happy to be in a couple with him. They're like the only role reversed couple where she's really sad. And Austin is like, the bright side is I'm still here. You get to cuddle with me tonight. I'm really excited about it. And she's like, yeah, I guess.
She's like, but I just feel so guilty.
And then after they all go to bed, Nic and Alandria sneak into the villa. They creep into bed together so that the next morning when the lights turn on, they can pop up and announce, good morning, Islanders.
And everyone is so excited to see Nic. Like, Alandria too, but I knew it was probably going to be over between Alandria and Taylor when Taylor literally jumped over her head in order to hug Nic. And then, like, several minutes later gave her a hug.
Yeah. No, it's pretty clear that Taylor is simply excited and thrilled to see his bestie Nic. And with Alandria, he's like, I didn't even know she was gone, but I definitely didn't want to see her until everyone else is back. Like, why are you here right now?
He's like, well, this puts me in a tougher situation. And
yeah,
I don't enjoy that.
He gives her a long hug, but not in the sense where it seems like he's really happy to finally be able to hug her again.
No, and look, I think he does like her. I just don't think he is into her.
It's so annoying.
It's also insane because how can you not be into Alandria?
Listen, the
whole world,
we're all on our
internet
own,
is into Alandria.
We're all on our own unique journeys, and like we can't all be into everyone.
It's true.
But it makes me very frustrated that she has been kind of led to believe that they are building something really strong on a sturdy foundation. And for him, that sturdy foundation is great. We don't have to make out yet. I also didn't want to make out because I'm not that into you.
Right. And when a woman who I'm more into comes in, I will definitely want to make out with her and touch her all over the villa in front of everyone.
Yeah. So Nicolandria, during the coming like day, try to kind of put Taylor and Cierra aside as much as possible when they're together so they can really explore their connection. And Alandria seems to be struggling more with this. Like, she's really flattered. Nick is giving her lots of compliments. She's like, "You're cute. We have good chemistry during the challenges." But like, whenever he talks to her about a romantic thing, she's clearly just like, "It's weird because like you're friends with Taylor and I'm friends with Cierra." And like, okay.
At this point, I was like, oh, Nick is really into Alandria, and Alandria is not that into Nick because she's so into Taylor.
Yeah, 100%. I don't think that she has been nurturing like the same level of secret lust that Nick has. Like,
No.
he's like, you're one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen. Like, our challenge kisses have been so hot. And now that we're a couple, I want to show you the side that Cierra sees. You know, you call me Nicky Poo. I also want you to know Nick and see my mature side. And she looks truly flabbergasted. She's like, "I didn't know that side existed." And he's like, "Yeah, it really does." Has Cierra actually been seeing much of that side?
It's really mature when they discuss Shrek and Shrek 2. I think
Those
we
are
can all
actually
agree that shows gravitas.
Those are actually movies for adults. Have you watched them? They're full of references to adult
I
pop
have
culture.
watched them, at least the first one.
Kids really don't understand. So meanwhile, Taylor pulls Alandria for a chat after Nick has told him basically just be honest with her about everything. And he and Ace are ready to eavesdrop. Ace like gets popcorn, and then he and Nick like stealth roll off the beanbags to get closer. I truly do like. I know they're kind of like a weird little cult where where Ace just tells Nick and Taylor what to think and do, but I'm starting to find it charming.
I do enjoy their friendship. I love when men are friends with each other. I think it's beautiful. I think men should consider doing it more.
It's beautiful, and it takes a real load off of their female partners who are putting in enough
exactly.
work as it is, walking around the pool in heels, planning dates, building relationships brick by brick that will be dismantled as soon as their cowboy boyfriend meets a woman that he immediately has a boner for.
Exactly. So. But at least he has a male friend who can come to him and be like, have a conversation with this woman and be honest with her.
Yeah.
So
they sit down. Taylor tells Alandria that he and Clark kissed, and he does intend to explore it. Sad music plays. And Alandria tells Taylor she really likes him and wants to keep nurturing their connection. She wipes away tears, and Taylor jiggles his leg and looks nervously into the distance.
Yikes.
Like, I just don't think that this is
trying to be so optimistic.
Yeah.
At every turn. And it's just...
She's hustling. Like, she's putting in the work. She's like, I'm going to be the best version of myself for him that would make him remember what a good connection we have, that would let him see what our bond is. And I would probably be crying and being like, I don't understand. How can you suddenly like her better than me? But the way that he's acting, he keeps saying, you know, I'm not going to just be like, fuck Alandria because of Clark. Like, we're still going to explore each other. But the way his demeanor and the way that he approaches this conversation, it's hard to imagine Ace, Shelley, Cierra, Nick, any of these people in established couples having this vibe with their original villa partner when discussing their Casa connection. Like, there's no like warmth and excitement of like, I really missed you. It's just like, we can still talk. We can still talk.
Right. He's like, I'm not writing you off yet.
Oh, okay. You're not writing me off yet after 2 days with Clark? Thank you so much. What more can I do? I made you a fruit plate so that you could tell me about how much you love apricots. Apricots? I don't know.
Either. Both sound right. So should we talk about the kissing challenge, like the Casa versus Villa challenge?
Let's definitely talk about the kissing challenge.
My main takeaway was, damn, Cierra.
I mean, by the end of this grouping of episodes we're discussing, these 3 episodes, it's just clear that part of what's going on is that Nic and Cierra have like incredibly intense sexual charisma dripping off of them together
Like
and separately.
everyone, even people who are like not trying to date either of them. You just are moved by that. And we're feeling it through the screen.
Clearly.
Because I definitely have a crush on both of them.
Right, like the Islanders are us. Like we're not so different from them. We're all responding to the same things.
My heart rate is up. I want to make out.
When Sierra's on Elon's lap, like sitting backwards and like kind of gyrating her body.
Oh my God.
Are we not all human?
That was unbelievably hot. So this challenge is just like so many challenges, just a creative way to get people to make out. It'll be like, kiss the boy with the shortest name.
Yeah, well, it'll be like the boy with the shortest name, kiss your partner. So like no person is directly named.
And they have to like figure it out.
Yeah, they have to figure it out. So it's like the one girl from North Carolina kiss one boy from California. There's one in both Casa and Villa. So that all, they obviously picked their states carefully. And so then they have to figure out who it is. And then they do a very elaborate sort of simulated sex style
as every
makeout.
Every
because whoever
challenge
has the hottest makeout wins, and you can't even see what the other one is doing. So everyone is just like, how hot and sexy can I make this
Everyone
encounter?
is like, bring it. Be creative. You can't just like stand there and like make out. You have to be like doing stunts. Austin.
Okay, but I think the stunts actually don't work. Like the guys in Villa think the stunts work, but they don't.
But Sierra's is like has creativity. Like they are doing like kissing up the body. Like
that's not a stunt though. A stunt is Austin being like, I'm gonna lie upside down to do the Spider-Man kiss, because that was like the top kiss of the year in pop culture.
2003,
and guess what?
I was like, Austin, what are these? Do you have older siblings? Like
he likes the oldies.
I was like, what? But I was like, why is he aware of like the VMAs 2000, like, or like the MTV Movie Awards 2003? It was the MTV Movie Awards 2003, like hottest kiss.
He loves to watch the classics, old episodes of the VMAs from many years ago. Yeah, like, but the point is they didn't win that round. You know what I mean? Like when they do these stunts, they don't necessarily win. The stunt can sometimes even be a distraction from whether you're showing a lot of passion and intensity and chemistry. Whereas Sierra's creativity was all to showcase the chemistry and passion.
100%. I mean, I think we really see this in the final round where everyone just has to kiss their partners at once. And the men are like, we need to be boulders and form a human pyramid.
I know. They're like, they're gonna be lions climbing on top of the boulders, and they're all like kneeling on each other's backs. They're standing around watching each other being like, make out more, take off your shirt. Meanwhile, the women are all just literally lying around going to town on their partners for the entire time. And guess who wins?
Yeah, exactly. Like they had the wrong takeaway.
This was not create a structure out of human bodies while kissing, the challenge. This was a kissing challenge.
But honestly, thank you to the men because it was fucking hilarious.
It was really funny. And at the end, when they don't win the full challenge, they're like, we should have been fully naked. That's
that would have really done it.
Austin's like, boulders do not wear clothes. That's a known fact, which is, honestly,
so true.
Really true. He does know some things. Another thing about this challenge is that, as you mentioned last week, you can hear what's going on in the other place if they're loud enough. So they can hear each other cheering. From Villa, they can hear Casa, and in theory, I guess, from Casa, you can hear Villa, but I don't think that we actually see things get that feisty over in the Villa. So at one point, after Cierra wins the round, Nic is looking pretty upset because he knows from what Nicolandria said that she would have been the one making out during that round. And then they hear from Casa everyone chanting, Cierra, Cierra, Cierra. And he really looks like he wishes for death.
And again, I loved it.
I loved it. Suffer
just a little for a treat for me. The other thing that happens that's notable during this challenge is that Huda and Chris kiss, and they like have some chemistry. And this sort of puts each other like on each other's radar. Afterwards, Chris is like, okay, that was actually really hot.
Yeah.
Maybe I should
She like puts her necklace in her mouth to kiss him. I'm always learning things that the Zoomers think apparently is hot based on what they're doing on this show. I guess I should be putting jewelry in my mouth
I
while I'm
just
making out.
think that when you like grow up watching online porn, you have some tricks.
Yeah.
You have some idea. Like there's some visual imagery
No, it's
that
true.
is embedded.
There's something about Love Island and its resemblance to porn that makes me feel like a conservative who is talking about how dangerous porn is in a way that reveals that they're actually really familiar with what happens in porn. And I'm like, the more that I'm like, wow, this is so much like porn. It's crazy. I've never seen something like that on TV. It's like, well, Claire, you seem to know an awful lot about that.
How do you know?
I'm like, I heard about it.
You're like, it's just me. I've never watched porn.
No, I'm a good
couldn't
Catholic girl. So after the challenge, Nicolandria, Cierra, and Elan have some things to discuss. So Nic and Elandria go to hang out in Soul Ties. And he asks Elandria how she felt about their makeouts during the challenge. And she's like, look, we always have a good time during the challenges. Like, I think everyone can tell. And he says he also likes her strong personality. And he twinkles his eyes at her.
Nic. And then in a confessional, he says that there is a strong physical connection between himself and Elandria. And he tells her that he is curious to see how it feels to make out outside of the challenges.
And she looks really shocked and like not in a bad way, but like she wasn't thinking that. And she giggles and she's like, oh, Nikki. I've never seen her. I think because Taylor is basically just vibing with her like a friend. I was like, oh, I'm seeing her in like flirty, giggly mode constantly because Nic is like making passes at her and she's like holding her hand in front of her mouth and giggling. And I'm like, oh, I've never like really seen this side of Elandria.
No, it's delightful.
It is delightful. So finally, they decide to go for it. And they share a very passionate makeout with some light butt touching and lip biting. No blood, but just, passionate lip biting. And afterward, he's covered in her makeup. And they're very giggly.
And this is contrasted with Cierra and Elan, who, again, no one seems to agree on how to say his name, but he was introduced as Elan. So even though every muscle in my body wants to say Elan, I'm going to say Elan.
We got to get him on the record.
I need clarification on this. So this is contrasted with Elan going to Cierra and kind of trying to explore with her a kiss outside of a challenge. And she shuts it down. And she says, I really want to explore our connection to the fullest. But as she tells the camera, she is doing this without kissing in challenges or cuddling in bed. And if Nic is doing that in the villa, she'll be really upset.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. On that note, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, the rest of episodes 21 to 24.
And we're back. So let's talk about what happens the next day between these tangled messes of couples.
Honestly,
Nicolandria,
I was like, wow, this is all coming together. Something crazy is going to happen. And then at the beginning of the next episode, Nicolandria is done. The dream is dead.
Yeah, it's like dun dun. I
was like, wow, so much drama. Okay, it's done. It's over.
Yeah, they've put in enough work on this project. They have a follow-up chat over breakfast, and they're like, "Listen, we really did the most that we could on this. How are we feeling about it right now? No, time to pull the plug." Great. We're on the same page.
We got to go back to our original work teams. That was just like a more synergistic relationship.
And I will say it's interesting the way that they discuss it, because I think for the viewer, it really seems like Elandria is less into it than Nic, and Nic is ready to like pursue it. But when they sit down to talk, she asks him to talk first about how he's feeling. And he says basically that he's ready to drop it. He's like, it's been so nice being in a couple and actually talking to you. I wanted to see if it was romantic, but when we were kissing, I was just thinking about Taylor and Cierra, and I feel like that's where our hearts really are going.
And Nicolandria seems very relieved.
So relieved. Like she was
like,
ready
oh,
to be
thank
like,
God.
she's ready to be like, actually, no, I'm not into it. And then he's like, I'm not into it.
She's like, great. Oh my
you.
God. Great. Okay, good. Yes. Let's just go back to being friends. So they do.
Meanwhile, Clark still has not pulled Nicolandria for a chat. There's a lot of chats to pull people for, and it's finally time for Clark to have this conversation. And Ace is watching, and he's like, Taylor, you're in black, they're in black. Like, you could do a whole photo album together.
I did notice this. It was the first thing I noticed when Clark pulled Nicolandria. I was like, oh, they're both in all black.
It's like Team Taylor is all wearing black for picture day. Nicolandria tells Clark, she seems to do most of the talking that we see.
Yes.
And I think that Clark kind of wants to be the person who opens up this conversation since she sort of took Nicolandria's man. But Nicolandria has a lot of thoughts and she doesn't seem that interested in Clark's thoughts or existence.
No, I just don't. I think Nicolandria is very respectful to Clark, but understandably, she's just like not trying to be besties.
Yeah, she keeps calling the other women like her ops. She's like, they seem cool, but like they're not my girls. They're ops. They're working against me. Like at one point she's watching Taylor and Clark together with Nic and she's like, that's my op. She's been putting in the work. And Nic is like, well, just like conversation. And Nicolandria is like, man, I've been putting in work. I've been doing dates. I've been doing all this stuff. She's just
and
doing
honestly, you have, Taylor. Nicolandria, you've been putting in too much work.
So she admits to Clark that it's hard for her to see them together, but, you know, she's still here. And even though they're not in a couple, she is going to try to keep building their connection. And Clark is like, for sure, of course, absolutely. And then Nicolandria tells Clark that she and Taylor have tested their connection in every way, including this, and this is like the greatest test of all, and she understands that and she respects it. And Clark does not react to this in the moment, but in a confessional and later to, I think, Coco, she's like, I don't really like our connection being called a test. I don't think of it as a test. But, okay. I mean, I don't think that Clark can really expect Nicolandria to think of it any other kind of way.
No,
and
which
Clark
is why I
think of it that way.
Clark just doesn't say anything.
Yeah.
They're just, they're not going to see things completely eye to eye, but they do clear the air. Nicolandria also tells Taylor that she kissed Nic in soul ties, and Taylor seems to not care.
I know.
She's like, I felt so
rough.
guilty. We're not into each other. And Taylor just like has no reaction.
He's just sitting there silently. Like the whole conversation, we don't really see him say much at all. And he doesn't really give much in the way of facial expressions or touching her or anything. And she does kind of talk a little bit more about comparing the relationships and like that their relationship, his and Clark's, has been more physical up front. And he does react to that. He's like, oh, we're not like having sex. And she's like, oh no, I just meant like kissing and touching. You know, we didn't really do that so early on. And in a confessional, she says that, you know, their bond, his and Clark's, is much more physical right away. And we all know that doesn't last. It's going to take one bad bitch to rip him away from me.
Here's the thing. Sometimes you just are attracted to someone and like that does last.
I understand. Well, first of all, Nicolandria is in denial because she worked really hard on this connection. And I think a big part of what's going on is that she is trying to do things the right way. She feels like in the past she has waited maybe for guys to do the pursuing. She has noped out really quickly if they didn't show the right level of interest or if they disappointed her. And with Taylor, she's like, we're building something. I'm
giving it a chance. I'm putting in effort. He's putting in effort. And I think her understanding of the connection is that they're both slow burners. They're both people who don't want to get too physical too quickly because they want to build a friendship and build something deeper. And the reality is that like maybe that was true for her, but for Taylor, he just wasn't that into the physical side of their relationship, and he sort of had to push himself to get there at all.
Yeah, I mean, this is the problem that can happen when you're trying to like overcorrect for how past relationships has gone wrong, but you don't really have much experience with doing it the other way. Like she's learning about some of the downsides of building the physical connection slowly. Like she's seen that a physical connection maybe can burn out quickly. But there is also the reality that if you take things slow with the man and he is chill with it, it's possible that that might be masking the fact that he doesn't really care whether things get physical because he doesn't want to.
And obviously this is on Taylor because he was never honest with Nicolandria that he was struggling with with like attraction. He only said it to Ace.
Yeah, we only saw him say it to his friends and not to her. And it's just hard because she's built this narrative of what their relationship is. She keeps saying like, oh, we were friends first and so we have a stronger foundation, but they weren't friends first. They were romantically dating. They just weren't hooking up because, again, he didn't want to. And even when they do kiss for the first time, she kind of suggests it, and it's very brief. And so there are all these moments when I think she could have been like, not that it's her job to get him to be honest about this, but when she might, if she were approaching the relationship from a different mindset, have clocked that like he wasn't showing much eagerness in that department. And instead she fit it all into this narrative of like, we're building a friendship because we care about each other so much and we're building something to last. And that's not what he was doing.
It's just, as we've said, it's just a huge bummer.
Really
so we also see the rest of the Islanders exploring their new connections. JD and Huda flame out in the... I loved it.
Crazy.
I loved it so much. I was obsessed with this.
This was so funny.
Huda makes a little joke
is that Ian Sterling is like makes a joke about how JD is gonna show how to lose a girl in like 10 seconds or something. And I was like, well, Huda does kind of start it. I think she's joking, but it's a little hostile.
It's hostile, but it's like hostile in a bit of a flirty way. And then he responds in a way that feels like so, like he's smiling and saying it kind of jokey, but it's clear he's very serious. She's like,
no,
oh man, I had to carry your ass during that challenge because like they lost their round. And he's like, well, it's because you wanted to be dominant. And I don't like that.
You were doing too much.
He's like, you're doing too much. You're doing too much. And
he says,
to be fair to Huda, this is a huge turnoff.
He says that's why we lost the challenge. And the vibes are so weird because
Bizarre.
I personally would have been put off by what Huda said if I were JD also. Because, like, first of all, you didn't carry him. You lost the challenge. So no one carried anyone.
Just didn't win, and it's fine.
Given that we lost, it's kind of like not cute to me to immediately try to be like, we lost because you suck.
But they both do it.
Well, but she starts it, is all I'm saying.
Correct.
I'm just not trying to belabor that, but that is what happens. And then he really runs with it in a way that I think she is expecting them to kind of volley in a little bit more of a bantery way. As we know, Huda sometimes has a tendency, as she did with Jeremiah, that they would kind of banter in a way where they were both being like, ha-ha jokes, but actually saying mean things that they were thinking about each other.
I think we call that passive-aggressive.
And JD is almost not even being passive-aggressive. He's just smiling a lot and saying it directly. He's like smiling like he's happy and then being like,
no,
you're too dominant.
You're too dominant, and clearly you like that, and like, I hate that. And finally she just says, okay, find someone submissive then. Good talk. And walks away. And afterwards, she's like, you guys would be so proud of me. I didn't even freak the fuck out. And you know what?
Freak out.
I actually was proud of her because I was like bracing myself.
I mean, they barely know each other. So, you know.
Well, and thank God. I'm like, okay, Huda doesn't fly off the handle at people she doesn't give two shits about.
Apparently.
But I wasn't sure.
That's what we can bank on. So after this extremely weird conversation, what else happens? They're all like kind of exploring their new connections still during this time.
So after this, JD starts going for Amaya. We see Elan do a cute little thing for Cierra where he cuts her pancake into a C, which seems like a mundane detail, but no, it comes back.
Yeah, remember that. It's important. Also, you want to know what type of woman I am. You ever making breakfast for me? Claire was looking at that thinking, wow, that's a lot of pancake left on the table. Does Mama get the rest of her pancake?
I was thinking the same thing. I was like, that's a whole like circle you're cutting out of that pancake.
A circle with a nub on it. Like,
Yeah, I don't want,
Mamacita wants
like-
her pancake.
Yeah, Mamacita needs more than half a pancake.
The middle part is the best part.
It's the gooey part. You
It's
need
the
all the
soft
edges
center.
and all the middle. You need the full pancake.
Yeah, there's no bad part of a pancake, but I would get that pancake and be like, oh, Elan, thank you so much.
Where's the rest?
Where's the rest? Huda is now at loose ends, so she ends up approaching Chris, who is paired with Shelly, and she asks if there's anyone else he wants to talk to, and he says, you. And Huda admits this is mutual, and she gives him a very like low energy interview to get to know each other. And she's basically just like, where you live? You have hobbies? Like, what about siblings? And he just sort of answers her questions and doesn't ask her any questions back. And it's not a very inspiring connection to me at this point.
No, I agree. We
Vanna
also get
and-
a very uninspiring connection between Vanna and TJ.
That's continuing
TJ,
to go
like,
nowhere.
go home. TJ, go home. You're so boring to me. I kept cutting things from Claire's note taking that were just things about TJ because I was like, I do not care about this man. This is a funny interaction, but like nothing else he does is interesting to me.
I know. This is real JV Love Islander team. Like, they should be on a different level. They should be D2.
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason that we need to have these risless, like, charmless people on the show.
Risless.
But the way that she's trying to tell him, it's hard for me to read you because of your resting bitch face. And he fully just stares back at her impassively with resting bitch face and is like, I can't do anything about that. That's just my face. I'm like, I don't know. I bet you could smile if you thought about it. I bet you could tell her how you feel.
I don't know.
But he's like,
TJ.
no, I can't.
You'd be a lot prettier if you smiled.
I mean, the reality is that the reason Vanna can't read him is because he doesn't like her, but he doesn't say that
Correct.
either.
No, he's just like, I'm so glad that you stood up for me because I didn't want to leave.
Yeah.
But
I'll be
do I wanna
grateful
be
to
with
you
you?
forever.
no.
Yeah, I'll be grateful to you forever, but not enough to smile at you. I save those for Iris. And then they get a text.
Woo, she got a text.
Casa is heading back to the main villa tonight.
Drama, drama, drama. Everyone starts to freak out. And I was like, wow, it's over already? But it does mean that we get like an incredibly epic recoupling.
We did. I mean, I loved this recoupling. It
Me
just goes
too.
on and on forever.
And I loved it. I loved every moment of it. There was so much tension.
And everyone is like starting to freak out the minute they get this text, like, oh, I either have to choose or I have to worry about whether I'll be chosen. And Alandria is the only one who can like do anything about it. So she takes boudoir shots in the photo booth and leaves them for Taylor with a lipstick kiss on the back.
It makes me sad to think about the fact that Taylor still has these photos.
I hope he doesn't. He should have.
too.
He should have sent
them-
those back to her in a
Yeah.
bundle. He doesn't deserve them. Before the return, Huda finally tells Shelly that she also wants to explore Chris, and Shelly is like, "Great, love you." And I mean, she should because Shelly is obviously going to repair with Ace, and like,
Right.
she kind of can't call dibs on both of them. I feel.
I agree, and we will get into this later. Like, I adore Shelly, and I have enjoyed Shelly much more on this season than I have Huda. But, yeah, there are some things that happen later on that I'm like, Shelly, are you
Yeah.
being totally fair? I'm not sure.
So Ariana comes back to welcome the Casa girls and guys back to the villa, and they kind of wait in the villa for the villa couples to come out one at a time. So Austin, who grew a porn stash during Casa that unfortunately I love. We all know I have a weakness for a mustache.
You do love a mustache.
Austin comes out with Jaden, then TJ and Vanna, then Pepe and Grayson. At this point, you can see everyone looking around and being like, oh, these guys are still here? So who's
Right.
not here?
These women wanted them. TJ?
Wanted that.
TJ is still here? TJ
Like,
and Austin?
Okay.
Okay.
Ace and Coco come in next, and at this point, Cierra is clearly starting to stress out a little bit. And then Taylor and Clark come out, and everyone is like watching for her and being like, it's Taylor, it's Taylor.
Also, this is so crazy because all of the men obviously know.
Right.
Nic isn't gone, and they're just like all watching Cierra sob.
Right? Like they can't say anything. They look really sad that she's upset, but they can't be like, it's all good, girl.
No, they have to
And
wait. The show is doing its thing.
also, Amaya is crying, of course. Like, no one feels anything more deeply than Amaya, no matter who it's happening to.
No one's sympathy cries more than Amaya.
Then Ariana says, oh, I nearly forgot. There's one more couple. And out walks Nicolandria.
It's so amazing to see the women just like the complete glee on all of their faces. Obviously, Cierra gets her insane rom-com moment with Nic. She runs up to him. They embrace. They immediately kiss.
I know, despite the fact that he is wearing an acid wash short sleeve denim jacket. And
that is how powerful his charisma is.
And you can tell, like, even before the recoupling, you see him, like, talking, like, oh, I need my baby girl back. I miss her so much. Like, I'm, like, worried. He's clearly, like, styled his hair. He's put on his little outfit. And this is what he went with? Nic, please. You almost ruined my rom-com moment. I was waiting for this. It's still good. I still cried.
I did too. I loved it. I loved it so much. I also appreciated that Elan sees this and is immediately like, okay, so like I'm done here. I see. I get it.
She said she had a strong connection, but like, okay, no, it's all coming to place now. And the guys are like, you don't know what's going to happen. He's like, yeah, okay.
He's like, yeah, I think I do actually. And all of the women like run over to Nicolandria and they're so happy.
They're all so happy. I truly did cry when Nic got to Cierra and said, I missed you so much. And they kiss. And I was like,
it was beautiful. It was a rom-com. I loved every second.
So they go right into the recoupling. They all have to write the name of the person they want to couple with on a dry erase board, and then they take turns standing on the center heart, and anyone who wrote their name on their board joins them on the heart, and so does anyone who wrote that person's name on their board joins. And so in at least one case there's a bit of a daisy chain effect.
Yes.
But if they don't match boards with someone in this first round, they're single and vulnerable. There's no like, all right, second choice.
No, so they go from like least dramatic tension to most.
Obviously, yeah. So they start with Austin, who recouples with Jaden. Amaya recouples with Zach K, although JD also stands on her heart.
I just don't think anyone's very into JD.
Yeah. Especially like now there's a bad vibe also after what happened with Huda, so that can't help. No one's like, oh, but JD deserves a chance. Pepe couples with Grayson. Andrina couples with Brian. TJ, Vanna, and Iris all end up on a heart, and then Zach C joins them because he put Iris's name on his board. But TJ and Iris match, and so Vanna and Zach C both lose out. Shelly and Coco stand up for Ace, but Chris stays seated. He is one smart cookie. He was like, Huda doesn't have another option, but Shelly does.
Oh, he's smart. And also, Huda knows what's going on. She doesn't, like, at no point does she seem to think, like, Chris is going to stop gunning for Shelly. She's just like, great, this is a way for, like, us both to not be single and vulnerable.
Right. Also, he's 6'8".
Also, he's hot. Yeah. I mean, no, it was the correct decision for both of them.
So Huda couples with Chris after Ace and Shelly match. And she
also,
says...
after Ace and Shelly match, Huda starts, like, tearing up. And she said, it's like watching a rom-com. And I was like, wow, yes, Huda. We're in agreement on this one. This is our Love Island vibe, too. Except that we feel it about Nic and Cierra and not Ace and Shelly.
Like, Ace and Shelly, really? I mean, okay. And so Huda says about Chris that there's something between them, but she also wants both of them to have the chance to explore other connections more. Nic and Elan both stand for Cierra, of course. And Nic says that when he got dumped, he realized he never had a chance to say the things he wanted to say. And all the women start like clapping and snapping.
They're like, yes. Like,
yes. And he says this is his second chance to grow us. Like a little plant. And she ultimately picks Nic, of course, and they share a romantic kiss. And this was my rom-com moment. There were many of them over the course of this episode, but they all have to do with Nic and Cierra.
I loved it so much.
Then Clark and Alandria both stand for Taylor, and their repeating musical motif, "The Boy Is Mine," horror movie acoustic cover plays.
I was absolutely deceased at this cover of "The Boy Is Mine" and the way that they like kept bringing it back. It was so perfect.
It's so spooky. It's like, I'm sorry that you seem to be confused. And over this haunting soundtrack, Taylor chooses Clark. And the crowd is shocked.
We aren't surprised, but everyone watching, all the women are like, are you fucking kidding me, Taylor?
I mean, the women are all watching in shock, and Amaya is the only one really saying anything. And
thank you to Amaya. Thank you for your public service. You are us.
She is Huda in the first recoupling. She's like, Taylor, are you serious? Taylor, yo, there's no way. Yo. And it's clear that she's still really holding herself back, even though she is the only one talking. She's like, I could say more.
She's really growing on me.
I find her so charming.
Me too.
And unfortunately, none of the guys seem to find her very charming, even the ones who are in couples with her. But I find her charming.
But she's a delight for the audience.
So that's it. Taylor and Clark are paired, and Alandria admits she's shocked because she went so far out of her comfort zone to basically cater to him and like build something with him. And Taylor's like, no one wants to have to choose between two beautiful, hot women. Like, it's a real tough position. It's terrible.
Okay,
no one wants
fuck off, Taylor. Goodbye. Want to hear nothing else from you.
Yeah, I feel so bad for you.
The episode ends with all of the Casa people who are in a couple picking one boy to save, and all of the Villa people who are in a couple picking one girl to save. The Casa crew save Elan, which was 100% the correct choice, in my opinion. And come on, the Villa, they've got to save Alandria.
No, it's tough to be a Villa girl. Like, for Casa, there's no OG boys in the mix.
Right.
But for the Villa girls, it's like, are you going to choose Vanna or Alandria? No one wants to hang out with Vanna. Even TJ couldn't smile around Vanna.
Also, like, the audience would have rioted.
Yeah. No, and I think there is some back and forth. The girls do push for Coco. No one even really pushes for Vanna, but they're like, let's give Coco a chance. Like, she's really putting herself out there. She's wonderful. Let's keep her. And then Nic is like, look, Taylor needs take backsies. I think we can all agree that Taylor needs to have the chance of take backsies.
No offense,
we can't just
Clark.
like send Alandria home, but he needs to have that option. Also, Taylor seems to bring up that Coco might also want to explore him. So it's almost like he's like, maybe that's to explain Clark ultimately getting behind Alandria, that like either person that they picked was going to be a threat with Taylor anyway.
Yeah, I didn't really understand that, but all
Taylor's
I know
just like,
is
they
that
all
I
want to
was
explore
like,
me.
I was like, I don't, well, and yeah, that I truly don't understand. But all I knew is that we needed to save our girl Alandria, and I don't care what argument got it done. Get the job fucking done. And they do.
I mean, it's obvious that there is like such a deep friendship between everyone at this point, and that they all like really missed each other, and they're so excited to see their friends who left. Even though like boys and girls are so different, they can also be friends, which I think is really beautiful.
So glad we've learned that. Thank you, Love Island. So we barrel right into episode 24, and we get the fallout of this shocking decision from Taylor.
Yeah, Taylor-Landria is over. And now it's just Queen Alandria.
Taylandria, I think, rolls off the tongue a little bit easier.
I like Taylor-Landria.
Taylor-Landria.
It sounds like a yodel. So after the recoupling, Alandria tells Shelley and Cierra that she didn't have a heads up about his decision. So he didn't tell her this was coming. I do think that he telegraphed it pretty strongly with his body language, but I think it's fair for her to want something more direct than negative body language. And in her confessional, she says she feels defeated and sick to her stomach. they ask her about what it was like coming back to the villa, and Alandria says that she and Nick were supposed to like explore because they were in a couple, and it was weird because they're so close to Taylor and Cierra, but they did kiss. And Shelley makes like a shocked Pikachu face to this. It's like
so accurate.
He's like, and Cierra looks a little uncomfy, but Alandria says there was no spark at all. They both agreed it felt really weird, and they thought of Cierra and Taylor immediately. Do you think that's accurate?
I think it is accurate about the kiss, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's accurate about the connection as a whole.
Yeah, like if they're describing that moment when they kissed in Soul Ties, I'm like, that does seem true. They had a kiss. They both immediately were like, this is a little bit weird with Cierra and Taylor. Maybe this isn't something that we should pursue romantically. But what about the whole run up? It wasn't like we have to explore each other because of what the text said. It was Nick being like, I've always been into you.
Exactly, which is why my theory is that what will ultimately hurt Cierra during movie night is not going to be the kiss itself, but it's going to be like the framing of it.
Yeah. And in this moment, she takes it on board really well.
Super. Because here's the thing. She knows that like Alandria isn't pursuing Nick and Nick isn't pursuing Alandria. It's no threat to her relationship. And she really trusts Alandria. They're very, very close. Yeah. So like, I get it.
And in this moment, it's like the flip side of being extra angry when your partner cheats on you with a friend. It's like she's motivated to be cool with both of them because she really wants to be good with both of them. So she's like, I'm glad it was you and not one of the single girls. I feel fine about it. I don't feel any type of way about it.
Let's move along.
Taylor tells Clark that picking Alandria would have been playing it safe and sparing everyone's feelings. But his heart wanted Clark, which I know that, like, that's clear just from watching that that's what happened. But it,
correct.
Oof, brutal to see him actually say that picking Alandria would have just been to make everyone else
brutal,
happy.
But correct. And frankly, I think that the real crime on Taylor's part here is not that he picked Clark, but that he was not honest earlier with Alandria.
Well, that's the thing. He wanted to keep being like, I'm not writing you off, but it almost would be better to be like, seeing what a strong connection I have with Clark really makes
I'm
me
done. I'm sorry. I think we need to move on from our connection.
Which would have sucked, but at least she wouldn't have been surprised at the recoupling. Anyway, Nic and Cierra have a chat, and she's like, what happened? Usually the girls come in and they're all over you.
And he's like, yeah, it was a bunch of duds.
Yeah, he tells her
really.
he was interested in Jaden, but like it wasn't fireworks and she didn't pick him. And then he tells her about how Alandria picked him up for the little date. And he also tells her that they decided at the villa to see if it could be romantic. And so they kissed, but they knew right away that Cierra and Taylor were the people for them. And so they kind of moved on from that. Again, it seems like maybe glossing over some of the, I've always thought that your bestie was so hot.
But he's like, well, I'm being truthful about the kiss.
The kiss is the way I described it. He asks how she feels, and she's like, well, I knew that you would want to see a test through to the fullest, and I'm glad it was with someone I trust. And he's like, well, now I'm ready to just explore the love languages with Cierra, specifically quality time.
When he later says, I don't like testing this anymore.
I know. Well, because she's starting to talk about, like, I'm thinking about the outside. Like, I want to go to thrift shops and coffee shops with you. And, like, I'm like, Cierra, there's a reason I like you. I'm like, that sounds like a great day. And he wants to go skydiving.
That is literally what I did today. I went to coffee shops and thrift shops.
That sounds incredible. I love it. I want us to all go thrifting.
We are all
with Cierra.
one.
But then Nic seems distracted, and he's like, I'm nervous about, like, there being more tests. And she says, you love tests. And he says, I don't like testing this anymore. And they kiss.
It's so romantic. It's so good. Oh, we're being so annoying and swoony. But that's how we feel, okay? We have to be real.
Yeah. Oh, and in this conversation, also Cierra tells him about Elan making her the pancake C. Keep an eye on that. The
Nic
pancake
does take
C is
note.
coming back. Mm-hmm. Unlike the inside of Elan's pancake, the concept of the pancake sea does return. It's not gone forever.
And now I'm just hearing it as pancake-y, all one word, not pancake-y. Just a pancake-y.
I love that being like a blanket term for pancakes cut into like special shapes or letters.
It's a pancake-y. I love my pancake-y.
We're inventing a concept. Just a regular day at the office. So the other couples are also reconnecting after the recoupling. Shelly and Ace are like peppering each other with kisses, and he asks about Chris. She says they're very similar, and Ace says, "Ain't nobody like me." And she's like, "No, you're right. There's nobody like you."
Lord,
but you're very similar.
May one woman in this world have the confidence level of Ace.
Meanwhile, Taylor is out there basically being like, every woman is Nicolandria in a different body. And Ace is like, I share no qualities with anyone. I am completely unique.
I am one. I am one in every way.
I'm an artisanal man. Zach tells Amaya that he's a cat dad, and one of his cats is missing. He used to come back, brushed and smelling of perfume, but then he stopped. And I was like,
months
Zach,
ago.
You are describing not having a cat. You are describing like sometimes feeding an outside cat. Someone else was otherwise taking care of, it sounds like. Brushing the cat, cuddling the cat.
I had a lot of follow-up questions about this. I was like, what is going on? I also think that was his that was his cat number 3.
Yeah, he has 2 more cats.
Yeah.
I hope
presumably do live with him.
At least part of the time, I guess. Apparently he considers it to be the cat living with them if they sometimes come in for food. As a former cat mom, I don't know about this. I don't think you had a cat. Huda and Chris also chat, and she is so happy. She keeps being like, I'm so happy. But you should also keep getting to know Shelly. That's totally fine. I won't get mad. People don't think I'm cool, but I am totally cool, and I won't cut off your dick for talking to Shelly.
Huda is like working overtime to be like, I will not repeat the Jeremiah situation.
Yeah. Huda's problem throughout her time in the villa is just, I'm sympathetic to it at times because I think a lot of it is just an inability to match other people's energies. Yes. And a lot of the Love Island experience is kind of just like coalescing around a sort of norm of behavior, and she is always
can't read
misreading.
The room. Mm-mm. She cannot read the room. I keep thinking about this. I think about this a lot when she talks about her difficulty having friendships with other women, and I was like, oh, I see how that's happening actually, which we'll get into later.
Yeah,
but I think a lot of it has to do with this exact thing where she's like, oh, I thought I was like doing the norm, but she just isn't.
Yeah, she's not pegging her idea of the norm to the same things everyone else is. So but for them, they're like
she's
the
trying
norm
really hard.
Right. She's like, I'm listening to what they're saying. I'm taking feedback. I'm changing my behavior. And they're like, no, that was how we thought you should have acted 2 weeks ago. But things have changed and you're not taking that into account. And she's like, what? Austin and Jaden also talk a little bit about how it's hard to cuddle when she's a stomach sleeper, and also she needs to scratch his back. And the guys are constantly talking about how they need back scratches. Is that
I need back scratches? Why won't someone scratch my back more often?
Like every night they get into bed and they need back scratches from a woman to fall asleep. But the men in this generation are so soft. By the next day, the love triangle participants are really starting to worry about like, how are they going to figure things out with their situation? And Elon is trying to figure out how to navigate still pursuing Cierra when she and Nic are, again, like kind of at the end of a rom-com and they're in love. And so he tells Nic that he won't double up on Cierra's breakfast since Nic made her breakfast. But then he sees Nic cutting his pancake for Cierra into a C. And Elon is so pissed that he makes her a C pancake too.
And now she has one full pancake, and I'm so glad. But she's full. Couldn't be me. I would eat both.
It was even worse with Nic because it was just one pancake. I'm like, you cut the middle out of one pancake, you don't have a lot of food left. At least Elon's was a 2 pancake stack.
Cierra's very full, she says. Where are all these extras right in the trash? I want the pancake. Nicolandria is also still processing her feelings for Taylor, and She says, obviously they didn't go away overnight. And she says, men's problem with me is they see my worth after the fact, but when I'm gone, I'm gone. She also says in her confessional that she is like trying to handle things very maturely. She wants to be childish as fuck, but she's got a save face. Relatable
she's
queen.
Like, I love that she's like, it's for me. I want to look better. Like, it's not for him.
Yeah, it's not to make him comfortable.
I don't want to fully crash out on TV. Yeah, I loved hearing this. I was like, yes, be gone. I really hope that you are
do not give this man
done.
A second fucking look.
Yeah, he doesn't need to waste any more of your time. Taylor tells Ace and Nick he thought picking Clark would get him out of the love triangle, but now Nicolandria is still here. But that's fine. Like, he's not mad about it. He voted to keep her. He thinks it's great. And they're like, well, do you think maybe you could still have something? And he's like, yeah, I think so.
Taylor,
she's probably like not interested anymore, but like,
get the fuck out. Get the fuck out right now. These three also are like, we need a team name. And I was like, oh, you want to be PPG from season 6 so bad, but you're not.
I did appreciate that Nick suggested the Three Stooges, and Ace is clearly disgusted. Ace is like, I'm too dignified to be a stooge. I'm a musketeer. Sure, I can definitely be a musketeer, but not a stooge.
How dare you?
The funny thing about them to me is that they all seem like they're from different genres. Like, I could see Nick being in the Three Stooges. I could see Ace being a musketeer. I don't even know what's going on with Taylor. But, like, there's no cohesive group that I could really see them all being. And yet they're so close, which is so adorable. Cierra asks Iris if she heard Sierra's journey the night before. We also know someone who did definitely hear Sierra's journey the night before, and that was Elan.
Poor Elan. He's
the
like,
journey...
thank God I brought my earplugs.
Clearly not enough if he knows what happened. And Cierra also heard the journey. Apparently, Nic and Cierra went on a trip. They stopped for food, hot dogs, and hamburgers. And after a full meal, they ended at a waterfall, which, I can't imagine what they could possibly be talking about. It seemed like they stayed in bed. So,
it lets the guys know this was a long trip. 40 seconds long, to be exact.
But still subpar. He's like, I got to get my stamina up. I have to imagine for some of these guys, they were used to having sex like pretty much constantly. And now they're really worked up. And it's all happening very fast.
It's like, wow, to be in your 20s.
I know. Yeah, in my 20s, I was definitely having sex constantly. And never a day went by. And after that, also, I'm very impressed that they got all this done clearly under the covers, because we never see them on top of the covers. And they are doing everything
have to make a
on
little
the
fort
list
for yourself,
of sex
Claire.
I get so hot when I try to do that. I'm just like, never mind.
If that's your only choice and you're dedicated to the task at hand, you commit.
If I'm dedicated to my meal. Then Cierra mentions to Iris that Nick made out with Nicolandria in Soul Ties, and Iris looks at her in abject horror. And Sierra's like, oh, like, should I feel more weird about that? You're making me second guess myself. And Iris is like, no, don't second guess it at all. It's just that it's super weird and super fucked up that they would do that to you. Your best friend and the man who was inside of you. I can't believe they would kiss. Like, I would never do that.
And you would never do that, Cierra, right? But don't change your mind because of me.
Yeah, don't listen to me. That's just my reaction, which is that two of the people who are closest to you are monsters who don't care about your feelings. Don't change your mind about that. And so obviously, Cierra feels weird.
Correct.
I mean, it is weird, but also it is Love Island, Like, it's not like they did it. And I think that what we see with the Nic and Nicolandria thing when they get paired, that's especially coming from Nick, is this sort of thing that's like, in the real world, you start dating someone you really like and you think their friend is hot and you have some like vibe with their friend. You just like compartmentalize that right out of the way and you never address it, right? But we're on
now
Love Island.
We're in a couple and we're on
Love Island. We're putting a couple. This is what we're here to do. So let's go there in a way that we would not in the real world. And so for Iris to be like, I would never do that. Like, that's crazy that they did that. I was like, it's really, given the situation, it's not that crazy.
Also, it would be different if the end result was we want to explore at your expense.
Right.
It's like, but it's not a threat. So what is really the point for anyone to be getting up in arms about it? Like, at least at this point when, like, she has not seen anything. Like, as far as she knows,
Right.
they made out and they mutually decided that they weren't interested in each other, which is all true.
Right. And, like, if Cierra ends up feeling weird about it, she has every right to feel any kind of way. They are two people who are very close to her. But if she is able to take in the experience that they're on and look at her these two people and say, I know they care about me and that they're just participating in this experience and it's okay. I'm not totally freaked out by that, then why would you try to make her feel more freaked out about it?
Right. I was like,
Am
did
I just
Iris have
such
a chat with production?
I don't know. I'm like, I'm just such a Nic and Cierra stan that
Claire, they have to, every great Love Island couple has bumps in the road, okay?
Oh, totally.
Like, I am a Cierra and Nic stan too, but it's okay for them to go through these challenges. It will make them more likely to win $100,000 at the
which
end.
I want, obviously. No, I just mean, like, because of that, am I glossing over how fucked up this is? You know, am I making excuses for
I think Cierra
Nic
can
and
feel
Nicolandria
however she wants to feel, but I understand why it's frustrating to see someone else get in her head. I do, however, suspect that she, like, will process some feelings about it, especially when she sees the footage of it.
Yeah.
So, like, that's coming. Iris doesn't really need to get her there more quickly because as of now, there's not really anything for her to, like, stew over.
I also was like, Iris, I forgot you were here. Like, you
I
never have
know.
a thought or opinion on anything. And suddenly it's this. You have, like, a really passionate opinion. And it's, Cierra, you should be upset at Nic and Nicolandria, two of my favorite people. So, Iris,
How
please
dare
back
you?
off. How
dare you?
Emma, I know you have to go soon. Let's talk about the heart rate challenge.
Yes, we must. So, Claire, this is a Love Island classic. Again, neither of us are scholars, but I did watch last season, and this is something they did last season too, but they did a twist this time. They had people compete in couples rather than what they usually do, which is like boys against girls.
Yeah, which is weird because then you can't really isolate, although they claim to at the end of the challenge, you can't really isolate who had the effect on the various islanders' heart rates. It could have been either person in the couple or simply their shared gyrations. Who knows?
Exactly.
Before the challenge even starts, we do see Nic and Cierra set some boundaries, which was interesting. Nic tells Cierra, if you do some crazy shit on Elan, I'm crashing out. And I was like, oh my God, I haven't felt like this since college. I have, like, such a huge crush right now. I'm in love.
No,
I'm in love on behalf of Cierra.
You felt like this with Joey.
It's similar, but it's still missing that, like, power reversal thing that I think is so, like, really gets those hormones going where you're just like, oh, I was longing and I had a crush, but suddenly now the tables have turned, and you know what I mean? Like,
if you put a heart rate monitor on Claire, her heart rate would be skyrocketing in this moment.
When he says, if you do some crazy shit with Elan, I'll crash out, that was the highest my heart rate was.
Exactly.
Like, this whole batch, because I was like, that's her man. Cierra's like, well, I don't want you kissing the other girls, especially the ones that you've been pursuing. And he says he won't. She's like, okay, well, then I won't go crazy on Elan. Meanwhile, Nicolandria and Elan seem to be scheming because they're going to be paired as the single ones. And they seem to be planning something to do with their exes. And Elan seems to be kind of the one pushing this a little bit, but they are both super down.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good move. You're trying to get everyone's heart rates up.
Yeah.
You got to go to town on the people you used to have a connection with.
That's going to shock people.
Again, this is a game. This is a game.
So they perform their steamy dances one by one. Iris and TJ goes first. She's like a sexy Dalmatian, I guess. And TJ is a sexy doctor. I was really weirded out by how a lot of these costumes did not go together.
Why didn't they coordinate these costumes? I'm like so annoyed by it.
Yeah, some of them do, and obviously it's mostly the stronger couples that actually coordinate. Um, Amaya and Zach K go next as a sexy waitress and construction worker. Uh, Andrina is an army officer, and Brian is like a Cupid
Are there
type.
two Cupids?
I think there are two Cupids. Andrina takes the opportunity to heavily make out with Pepe because we didn't mention this, but she really wants to get after Pepe as well as Brian. She's
And
into
you know
both
what?
of them.
I see it. I see
do
this.
see it.
And I think Grayson is such a zero, so I am all for it.
Yeah, she's kind of a seat filler. Like she's the one that he ended up with, and he's like, sure.
Yeah.
Jaden is a dominatrix.
I
sexy
think she's actually a
cop.
sexy cop, and Austin is like a convict.
But I think you just think that because she's holding his chain, because it did not look like a cop outfit to me. I feel
It
like
was
she's wearing
like
purple.
blue, and
think
she's
it was
wearing like a deep blue, and she's wearing a little hat. I don't
Okay,
know.
That's
A
not how I
dominatrix.
recall her outfit at all. But unfortunately, we don't have time to fact check. They do
Maybe,
a sort of
maybe
like
I'm just projecting. She is something sexy, and Austin is a convict.
I know. I took care to write "sexy" in front of like every costume.
Well, that
they-
is the through line. They're like they all go together because they're
Yeah.
all sexy.
They're all sexy. Austin is a sexy old-timey convict. Shelly is a sexy bunny, and Ace is a Flintstone, and he's here to make somebody's bed rock. There are lots of like makeouts happening. Nick doesn't make out with anyone really,
Except
good
for
job.
Iris.
Except for Iris, which is kind of funny because of what Iris said earlier about how she would never make out with Sierra's man. But they end up doing like kind of a three-way with her. There's a lot of three-way stuff. They're always like pulling someone for a three-way. Ace pulls Amaya for a three-way kiss with Shelly. Huda is a sexy maid, and Chris is a sexy chef.
And this is where things go off the rails because Huda does the most with Ace, and Shelly is pissed. Like perhaps friendship ending pissed.
Yeah, suddenly the vibe is like very bad. And Huda tries to touch her hand, and Shelly's like, I'll talk to you later, but in a way that is very unfriendly. And so Huda can tell that she's mad. I was sort of like, there's just so much writhing and kissing and twerking happening that I kind of can't even make sense of all of it. But like, Shelly's doing a lot with Chris during the challenge. And,
That's the thing.
Meanwhile, Shelly is making out with Chris
Twice.
again
Shelley
during this
Pulls
challenge.
Chris twice on her end, and then Chris pulls Shelly. Like, I thought that they were doing like a couple thing. Like Huda and Chris pull both Ace and Shelly.
Yeah. It does seem like maybe Ace is like getting into it a little too much. There's like a
So-
lot of butt grabbing. It's like
I think this was part of my frustration here is that I get why Shelly was like, I feel weird about this. Huda's doing a lot here. It feels weird. She would have never been okay with one of us doing that to Jeremiah. Like, this was too much. But I think some of it is on Ace. Ace was like grabbing handfuls.
yeah, and I don't think that Shelly enjoyed watching that, which is fair,
But
but
that's like also not just on Huda.
it's all directed at Huda. And what ultimately ends up coming out after the challenge is that Shelly really feels like it wasn't respectful. She's like, you're supposed to be my girl. That's crazy. And, she would never have been okay with it if we did that with Jeremiah. She was always like, thank you so much for not overstepping with Jeremiah, just to show that that's what she expected from us. Meanwhile, Huda is talking to Andrina and Amaya and saying, like, I don't really get it. Everyone is always like, it's a challenge. But the second I do something, it's a problem. And I think part of what's happening is that Huda was being so possessive of Jeremiah very early on when they felt like the game was much more open. And
Now
so
that
everyone
has
was constantly
shifted.
telling her to stop, like chill a little bit and explore more. But now they feel like some of us have been kind of getting to know each other for weeks, and now we're kind of settling into a more established relationship. And suddenly Huda's up in here acting in a way that she would never have let us act with Jeremiah.
The thing that I take issue with, though, is that Shelly is explicitly still exploring with someone else. Like,
That
I
is
think
true.
if she wasn't, I would get it more.
I think Shelley would maybe feel differently if it were a newer woman and not like one of her
100%.
OG
That's
girlies.
the thing. I kind of saw both sides. Like I completely understood why Shelley was frustrated, and I also understood why Huda was a little bit like, wait, what did I do wrong? Like I didn't mean to do too much. And she realizes it, and she does ultimately cry in her confession. Like I don't think she's actually going after Ace.
No, but I think that one thing she said that was a little telling to me was that she was sort of like, I was trying to win, like I needed to take the big swing, and so I did. Like I didn't write the exact quote, but she said something that gave me the impression that she felt confident that Ace was the person whose heart rate she could reliably raise,
and she
the
was
highest.
Right.
And she was right. She did raise his heart rate the most. Like I feel like there maybe was a certain awareness of Ace being maybe attracted to her, having kind of like a complex hostile attraction to her, which I think is what he does have, that kind of gets him going, and that maybe she used that to perform in the challenge, and Shelley didn't like that to be kind of brought forward with Huda being her friend 100%. And Ace being her man.
Which is why I get it. Which is why I do get it. And I do think that, like, as we were saying earlier, Huda is not good at reading the room, and that, like, really gets in the way of her friendships. Like, maybe you should be cognizant of those social dynamics in a way that, like, she isn't, and it gets in the way, and ultimately she's going to suffer emotionally for it. Like, she's not actually into Ace, so she didn't need to go there with Ace. It wasn't worth it. And instead, she put a friendship that she does care about at risk. So, I'll be curious to see how this ultimately plays out.
Yeah. No, I feel for both of them, but like I do feel like Huda is maybe just a little at sea, and like she's going on kind of the opposite journey of everyone else, where she's trying to open up more based on them telling her that she was too locked down, and everyone else is going from being open to slowly like locking down. And they're just completely missing each other, and they're like, Huda is always doing the wrong thing, and it's just hard. And then Andrina like runs right over to Shelley and is basically like,
I was like, Andrina, you're shady. Like, this is so shady. She's like, Huda, you're good. Just talk to her. It's not a big deal. And she's like, I talked to Huda, and this is everything she said. She doesn't even understand why you're mad. Like, Andrina.
Oh, it was rough. But to round out the challenge, Cierra and Nic have their time as a sexy cowgirl and cowboy. Again, they actually coordinated, and Sierra's like, this cowgirl loves to ride. And I was like, whew, things are getting spicy. And then they team up on Iris, which Cierra describes as her dream throuple situation. And they do like a 3-way kiss with Shelley, and he sucks Nicolandria's toes and Shelley's. Like, I don't know. There's like a lot of, I can't even keep track. There's a lot of like kissing and toe sucking going on.
I was like, obviously they are going to win.
And they do. But as they 3-way kiss, we actually get a reaction of Zach K looking exhausted. And I was like, wow, it actually must be kind of exhausting to watch this much like humping and making out. And it's like, more of this. Okay.
Zach K is the elder there. He's 29. So
yeah, I know.
He's exhausted. The other notable thing, just to finish out, that happens is that Nic gets mad at Elan for pulling Cierra at the end of the challenge. And I was like, Nic, calm down.
Well, so Elan and Nicolandria had clearly planned something. Yeah. And they end by pulling their exes. They end their routines by pulling Taylor and Cierra. I'm like, just basically like laying them out and like riding them, basically.
They're allowed. Like, calm down, Nic. They're actually allowed.
I will say Elan is a little rude, because he says, it's your turn to watch, bro. And then he goes and just like fully mounts Cierra. And Nic is like, I don't fuck with that guy.
I mean, but they didn't already. It's not like it changed.
No, like they already didn't. But like, I thought that was like a rude thing to say.
Yeah, I'm like, you won, Nic. Like, let it go.
No, he did win, but I also understand being upset. I mean, it's like the Shelley thing. I'm like, they're allowed. It's a challenge, but also like,
yeah, I just get it less actually with Nic, because I'm like, you were never friends. You were always adversaries, and you're not friends now. Whereas like Shelley has a friendship with Huda.
I think the comment was what really made it feel out of pocket to me. I thought that that was nasty. Like, he and Cierra are like in a relationship basically, and he's like, I'm gonna dom your girl and you can't do anything about it. Like, just do it. You don't have to like make a snide comment to him about it. You get to make out with Cierra. Enjoy.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think also like
I can't get it up about it.
Nic is also frustrated because Cierra promised not to go to Townieland, but he can't, like, it's still happening because it's Elan's turn and that's his choice of what to do. So didn't protect him. So obviously Nic and Cierra win
and
the challenge overall, but then they go around
for them.
They also all talk about their individual results and who raised their pulse the most. But again, there's a big confounding variable, which is that they did it in couples. Nicolandria did raise Taylor's the most, and she's really happy because she wanted to fuck with his head. And Ace's was raised the most by Huda. Most of them not that surprising, except that, yeah, Cierra and Nic raised the most people's heart rates because they're extremely hot, and there's just nothing you can do about it.
And, like, that does feel correct.
Yeah.
So that is where I am going to leave this recap at the end of episode 24. I am so excited to see what happens in episodes 25 and 26. After the break, Claire will be back with Leigh Blickley Zulo to talk about the rest of the week.
And we're back. And now I'm joined by Us Weekly editor Leigh Blickley, our old friend, our occasional co-host, who is very generously helping us work around our summer vacation schedules by doing this taping at this weird time. And I'm in my travel location, and I'm still so excited to discuss Love Island. Leigh, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. And I realize that me and you rarely get to do this on our own. This is like the first go.
I know. Well, Emma literally always finds a way to make the tapings. She is actually in the air right now, flying home from Iceland, or she would be here.
Yeah.
And I'm the one.
She might like come in from the airplane. You never know. She'll just chime in.
Yeah, we'll just get a little alert. Like, Emma has joined the chat from the plane Wi-Fi.
Yeah, can we pull you for a chat, Emma? Like,
I know. When she
these episodes need it. We need as many voices as possible with what went down.
I know. And I feel bad because when Emma and I left off, we had one set of opinions and the vibe completely shifted. And so I want to just say that Emma has discussed these episodes over text with me, and she basically is on the same page with us.
Okay.
Which is a different page than we were on the last
than
time.
any of the pages I've been on for the past like 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah, there's been a lot happening. Things change so quickly in the villa. We were so giddy on Monday. Now we have to pick up the shattered remnants of our hearts, starting with mentioning a little bit of news that has apparently been floating around, but we just found out about it like last night, which is that it came to our attention that apparently Cierra has posted Instagram captions and stories in the past using a slur, like for Asian people, that she just uses apparently kind of like casually to describe the way her eyes look when she smiles. I'm not going to say what it is, but it is a slur and it's really offensive. And, you know, from what I've seen, it looks convincing that these are things she actually posted. And I'm really devastated because she was my favorite.
She was the top pick. Yeah, when I saw that, I was completely surprised too, because you mentioned it was really just like casual, very nonchalant, just like in the middle of a post about the way she does her makeup and her smile.
Yeah.
I'm just sad. I'm sad about this whole sort of who is on top of my list and who is slowly just really falling down. And this really added like, I was like, oh no, what a bummer.
Yeah, I know. It's hard for me. I was like so thrown off all evening, and my husband Greg was like, what's wrong? And I was like, I just found out that my favorite person on Love Island is racist. And he was like, and that is really upsetting to you? And I was like, yes. This ruins the next 3 or 4 weeks of my summer that I have to keep talking about her, and I don't want to. it does kind of take some of the joy out of it. Like, at least with Austin, I knew coming in that I was not going to like him.
Yeah. And, we kind of put Austin aside at this point. We're just like, are you still there? Oh, you are. Okay. But it doesn't matter. Cierra is like the
Yeah.
star of this
Yeah.
season. And she's
I know.
had such a great run. Like, I wanted to be in the villa to like hang out with her. And after this news and then what I saw this week in the episodes, I'm like, ooh, the real life is creeping into the villa. And now I can't like separate what I know from what I'm
Yeah.
watching.
Yeah, I just can't. You can't get excited about it in the same way.
No.
And yet we must soldier on because Love Island continues, even though
And
it's
we are
getting
sucked
darker.
in. Like, are you as upset? I mean, we're moms, and I go to bed at night, and I like cannot wait to watch the show because it's like my escape from madness.
Yes. I redid my whole, my kids, I didn't redo my kids' whole bedtime routine, but I reorganized my role in it so that I would be ready to watch Love Island at 9 p.m. And then it turns out they actually release even earlier than that. Special
I know.
secret.
I figured that out. I figured that out recently because I was like to my husband, Will, you have to do bedtime. Like, it's a big episode, and I'm recording the podcast. Like, I need to be up to date.
Yeah.
And he's just like, you can't wait a half hour. I was like, no.
No, this is actually really important work information. You need to
This
spend
is
as much
work.
time processing as possible. So let's dive into episode 25. Of course, episode 24. Wait, when? Yeah, episode 24 was the Hearts on Fire challenge.
Yes.
And so this is like all the drama ensuing from the Hearts on Fire challenge, which, believe it or not, all of these people licking and toe sucking and dry humping everyone else in the villa, all like 18 other people in the villa in front of their partner, led to a few hurt feelings.
So many. The whole episode was just talking about how everybody's feelings were hurt.
But it's worth it to win the challenge. I mean, is that why Cierra and Nic got the date? There seems to be no clear reason why you even want to win the challenge. But they're all just like, I got to win the challenge. I know. I'm going to like simulate sex on this person that I barely know next to my, boyfriend for all intents and purposes.
No, Claire, they just want to be like, I'm the hottest. I'm the hottest. And this challenge proved it. Everybody wants me.
Honestly, that does feel good. So at the beginning of episode 25, it's one of those, it's sort of like the post-party vibe. They're still in their ridiculous tiny spirit Halloween costumes, but they're eating toasted cheese sandwiches and just fuming at each other. And we see like some men, some boy debriefs. Like they all splinter now. It's like the OG boys and the Casa boys, the OG girls and the Villa girls. And some of the nuggets from these debriefs, Nic is really mad about the Elan thing, that Elan like kind of pulled Cierra and was like, it's your turn to watch, bro. And then went in on her. And Austin says, well, I don't think it was malicious. And Nic is like, well, I want to fight him. I never want to see his face again. The end.
I'm just like, Elan is just this gentle soul who's just trying to find a connection and just shooting his last shot. And Nic's just like, this is it. I'm going to fight him.
It was
bro
just
energy.
I know. I was like, I probably would have been upset as well. But like, Elan doesn't really owe you anything.
No. And Cierra was like, in there. It wasn't like she was telling him no. So
well, Cierra found a loophole to her I won't go crazy on Elan boundary, which is what if Elan wants to go crazy on me?
On me. And I'll just lay there on the heart like nothing's happening.
Also, while they all agree that Huda really went overboard during her portion, Ace is also clearly mad at Shelley and that Shelley doubled back for another kiss with Chris, and he feels kind of disrespected by how she handled. The men are all starting to get like really in their feelings about whether they're being respected, and honestly, so are some of the women. Like respect is the watchword of this episode.
It really was.
And this is also, I think, when we learned that Brian is into Jaden and that he, and I think he calls her Adriana, fizzled.
I don't think anyone knows Andrina's like name at this point, which is like, Brian, you've been coupled up with her for like 4 days at this point.
Yeah, like maybe you could find some interest in learning how to say her name. But he's like, our conversations are boring. I can't even focus enough to know where the ends are in her name at this point.
Yeah.
It's over.
And he, Jaden's like a private investigator. He's into that. He's like, I think our conversations will be more unique and thrilling.
Yeah. We'll discuss
Like an
investigations.
action thriller. Yeah.
He's like, every man just wants a beautiful woman who wants to talk about investigations with him. That's like kind of, it's that or a hot girl who loves football. Those are kind of male
That's
catnip.
it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So also after this, Taylor has a little debrief with Nicolandria, and he tells her that during her little like show for him where she went in on him, he's like, you got me for sure. Oof, wowzers.
Yeah. I can't with these two.
He's like, oh God. Yeah, I'm getting annoyed with Nicolandria by the end of this batch of episodes, but Taylor just like throughout, I'm just like, what are you doing? You picked Clark, and then you half-heartedly keep saying, yeah, Nicolandria's hot. I'll keep exploring with her, but you aren't giving her any sort of priority or attention. You're willing to have a chat with her where you're like, oh, you're hot. I wanted to kiss you, but I didn't out of respect for Clark.
Yeah. And you sent Nicolandria home. Like, you picked Clark,
Right.
assuming Nicolandria would be sent home. She was saved by the other Islanders. You probably should have just stuck with Clark and told Nicolandria, let's explore. You explore other people. I think our relationship is done. But no, he's just, like you said, a boy with googly eyes. If Nicolandria is interested in making out with him, he is going to be interested in making out with her.
Yeah, he's like, after 3 weeks together, I'm finally really interested in making out if that's what you want. But beyond that, I mean, do
no
you
talking.
give me a... And then later he talks to Clark and gives her kind of a different story. She asks if he thinks Nicolandria crossed the line, and he's like, I think yes. She didn't have to take me to the heart and make out with me. That's disrespectful to you, which isn't what he told Nicolandria. And it kind of seems like he is gauging Clark in that conversation and what she wants to hear and saying that, which is just like his whole problem, is just either being passive and accepting or even like kind of tailoring what he says to what he thinks the woman wants to hear.
Yes. Like, just say what you want to say. Say what you mean, Taylor. But instead, he's just trying to appease them or make them feel like he's in tune. He's in line with what they're thinking. He knows exactly what, right? Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's what you feel.
Yeah. No, I think we both agree that was really disrespectful now that I'm looking at you, and it seems like you found it really disrespectful.
But I didn't tell Nicolandria that.
I didn't tell Nicolandria that.
I told her it was great.
Like, no one knows what he wants because he doesn't want to tell them. Then Nic, who said he didn't ever want to talk to Elan, pulls Elan for a chat himself and tells Elan that it pissed him off when Elan pulled Cierra because, well, he just didn't. And the state of Cierra Nic is strong, and Elan should just have not done what he did. Even though it's fine when other people do that stuff during challenges, he didn't like it, and so it's not okay.
Yeah. No, bro. It was just like a lot of, I didn't like it, bro. And he's like, okay. But she told me like she's kind of open to, and he's like, no.
Yeah.
Because again, women are the men's possession, like they own the women, and the women need to do what they say.
Yeah. We've reached the point in the season, I think, when early in the season, it was really only Huda and Jeremiah to some extent acting like this. And now it's more and more all of the OGs who are acting very chill at the beginning are suddenly like, no, I'm in charge. If I have a connection, that connection belongs to me until I say otherwise. And if anyone else talks to that person, like, they're bad because it makes me feel bad inside.
Yep. Yeah. Like Ace is like, I sent Coco home. Like, that should mean that Shelly's mine.
I understand having your feelings hurt, but like, you kind of have to get Shelly on the same page with that.
Yeah. Also, this is Love Island. Like, they've been saying that themselves. Like, you're there to explore until you're closed off. If you're not closed off, like, what? I just don't understand why everybody's up in arms about this.
I don't know. But speaking of people being up in arms about situations despite not being closed off, Shelly is still absolutely livid at Huda for what she did to Ace during the challenge, which I'm going to be honest, I can't fully litigate this because to me, there was just so much making out and writhing and so many limbs and twerking that I couldn't really tell who was doing more than anyone else. It was almost like sensory overload.
It was, and there was a lot of people after the episode being like, did they like cut? Was it did something happen that was a little too raunchy, shall we say, that they had to cut it out or something? Because it didn't seem as bad as the way Shelley was reacting, or even Pepe. Like Pepe said it was overboard. So I'm like, what was
Right.
overboard? Because I saw a lot of things that were, there was
A
a lot
lot of
going
it-
on.
A lot of it seemed overboard to me, to be honest.
I mean, Shelley did like a full split on 6'5" Chris, like that,
That is
and a
fine.
makeout on top of it. That's incredibly talented, by the way, of Shelley. But also, that's a lot. Like I don't.
A lot of it was a lot for me. So it's hard for me to gauge those finer distinctions that they all are making. So I'm not even necessarily going to try to litigate that. I think it's hard to do that given, as you said, it might have even been cut at crucial moments that we didn't see. But what is certainly the case is that Huda is now really devastated that she hurt Shelley and she wants to fix their friendship. And Shelley does not really want to. So Huda ends up confiding in Chris about it, and he encourages her to apologize for hurting Shelley. But he's also like, it kind of says more about Shelley if she feels some type of way about it, even though she and Ace are open. Like, you shouldn't feel like you really did anything bad. Just like apologize for hurting her feelings. And so Huda does try to. She asks Shelley to chat while they're still in their stupid little costumes. And Shelley...
I'm like, nobody could have changed at this point. They're all just in their costumes, so upset. I can't.
I mean, it really is so like college party coded to me to be like, it's 4 a.m. I'm in a stupid little costume. We're all hungover already and also still drunk. And I'm mad at my friend.
Yeah. Can I say sorry to you? Like, Huda's in her full on like maid costume and Shelley's looking like Elle Woods. It's they're like, we can't
With
speak.
a little collar. Yeah, Shelley's like, actually, let's talk tomorrow. Right now, I'm aggravated, and it's not a good time to talk.
No, I thought that was mature. I have to say, I was like, okay, I appreciate Shelley knowing that she's heated, and if she wants to have like a good conversation with Huda, it's better to wait. But then that conversation never happens the next day, and that's when I was kind of like, come on.
Yeah, because the problem is, as long as this conversation doesn't happen, Huda is kind of persona non grata. Like, Shelley is one of the queen bees. Now no one's really talking to Huda. And when they do, it always has to be, also under the auspices of like, you did go too far, though.
Yeah.
And so she's getting iced out, but she can't leave the situation. They're all stuck there. Shelley obviously wants space, but it creates a very tense and uncomfortable situation in the villa. And also, it does seem like Shelley just does need to kind of express some of her anger because she is in her confessional interviews going off. But then she sits down for these one-on-one conversations with like Ace, or declines to even have a one-on-one conversation with Huda, and says much more measured and calm things.
Yes, but then it's like she's opening the door to her therapist's office and she's just like, I need to tell you everything that's happening. But then she is very calm and collected in person.
Yeah.
I was just confused. I thought this conversation needed to happen between these two women. Clearly, there's like some built up tension or just something along the weeks that has made Shelley kind of feel this way about Huda.
Yeah, she was talking a lot about like, that when Jeremiah and Huda are together, like, she expects us to not go hard with him in challenges. Like, she's always making an issue out of it. We do that out of respect for her. She's like, oh, thank you so much for respecting my relationship. But now she's not reciprocating that energy. And like, I feel like aggravated about that. And I feel like maybe part of what's happening is just that there is still some pent up anger over how Huda's relationship with Jeremiah hung over the whole first third of the season. Like, even Hannah coming out of the house talked about how it really was the whole story and atmosphere of the villa was just everyone watching them all the time. They were always fighting. It was always tense. and it kind of changed everyone's experience. And I have to imagine that these women have resentment over that. And now that they're entering their more serious relationships, they're like kind of wanting Huda to atone in some way.
Yeah, or
But
like
they
not be there, but you've
no,
kept her there. Like
that's the thing. I'm like, you should have just sent her home. Like
yeah.
you're not ready to be over the fact that it was really hard to deal with the way that she acted with
Yes.
Jeremiah and
Yeah.
how difficult she made parts of your experience. So it's why did you keep saving her?
Yeah, they seem to be hanging on to this while us viewers are seeing Huda in like a new light. Like we're seeing her kind of learn things about herself and maybe try to work on certain things and admit that female friendships aren't like something she's really been good at in her life and she's trying but they don't
Yeah.
see that. They just hold this like this is what Huda did to the first half of our journey and look, she's still doing stuff because she went after Ace and it was too
Yeah.
much. So I feel like Huda can't really win right now in terms of the girls. Like they already have their opinion set and they're not really
Yeah.
open to hearing how she feels. That's just how I
Right.
feel.
And they wanted her to be more open and explore. And the reality is she just doesn't have that many options for that right now that don't involve stepping on their toes in some small way. And she wasn't even trying to do that with Ace. But Shelley's
I think
also
she was
mad
just
about
trying to be
Chris.
like, yeah, she's trying to like again, she's like, it's a challenge. And Shelley never said like, don't go after Ace. Ace is the king of like, you go hard, it's a challenge. Like, show up.
Well,
And
speaking of
then-
which, Ace is also in trouble with Shelley because he
Yeah.
went too hard during the challenge.
But the two of them are always the ones that are like, it's a challenge, step up. Like, let's get it done. But Shelley is she is so mad. I haven't seen Shelley act like this either. So it was hard for me to see her upset, but I was also confused
Yeah. I was
by
just
like
sort
the
of-
Chris. I think the Chris situation is what really makes it like just this web of like,
Yeah.
he thinks it's right, she thinks it's wrong, vice versa, because Chris is there.
Yeah, because she has a conversation with Ace where she's like, I'm not really upset with you. I'm upset with Huda. And then Ace brings up that he's upset because she doubled back and made out with Chris a second time. And he's like, that's a hard thing for me to watch. I sent a person home. You're still exploring. Like it sucks for me. And Shelley is furious. And in her confessional, not to him directly, she's like, he tongued down everyone in the room. He went down the line. But me doubling back for a 2-second kiss is a problem. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And I think that, like, probably what's happening is just a series of, like, little, like, people getting defensive in every time that someone broaches the conversation, the other person gets defensive. And so they never actually have a constructive expression of what they're feeling. But, like, I just don't understand how you can expect such complete loyalty with Ace, but then also be like, and I'm exploring Chris, and Chris shouldn't really be exploring with Huda.
No, exactly. But Huda and Chris are coupled up.
Right.
But I guess there's this like this Huda must have said, she did say something where like, I'll bring Chris so that you can keep exploring in the villa, but I'm also interested in him. So that's complicated. And then to Ace's point, which he's trying to express, but there's just like a lot of back and forth between them, is Ace was just like in the challenge having fun. He didn't really have like a connection like Shelley had with Chris. Like he knows that they were together in Casa, so he knows they are bringing something back. So when she doubles back to go to Chris, it hits differently than Ace just like, making out with, I don't want to say Huda, but like Nicolandria, or like one of the other girls that he's known for weeks. Like that it's just more friendly. For him, it was Chris like specifically that she went back for that hurt him.
Yeah.
But he can't seem to get that across well because Shelley she's like, but
Well, they're mad at each other about different kinds of things. Like he's mad that she's having an emotional connection. She's mad that he's doing the most physically. And they both kind of don't want to be the first person to back down. Like if he says, I don't like that you're still exploring, she says, well, you wanted to explore. And
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, let's go back to basics here. Shelley, do you still want to explore, or are you making kind of a point because he wanted to still explore? Because now it sounds like he doesn't want to explore anymore. Is that something you're interested in, or are we never gonna talk about that because you're mad that he said before that he still wanted to explore?
Yeah, Claire, we need you on the island as like a mediator between these two. Because he
They need
definitely doesn't
someone.
want to explore. Like Ace wants to be closed off. Like to me, it's very clear that Shelley's like, that's who he wants. But he doesn't tell her that. Like he doesn't ask her to be closed off. So of course she's going to say, well, we're going to keep exploring because she thinks that he wants to keep exploring.
Well, but I'm also like, does she think that? Because he is saying, I sent someone home. You're still exploring. I don't like that. You could say, do you not like it because you want to be closed off with me? Because you haven't asked me that. And so I feel that I should still be exploring. And instead, she's just like, well, you made out with everyone in the room. And again, why shouldn't he if they're not closed off and she's still considering coupling up with someone else?
It's ping pong and pancakes with these two.
Yeah, I know.
And really the whole episode, it's just ping pong and pancakes. Pancakes have really like taken a star seat
especially
this season.
I know with Huda, it's basically the basis of all of her relationships is the quality of the pancakes she gets. So the next morning, Ace, I think, is like trying to make things up to Shelley by bringing her flowers with her pancakes. Like he brings her like increasingly large branches of flowers.
I was going to say that before, like, but then he, they get in these little tips and he's like, but I brought you these flowers that did he pick off the premises? Like, where does he find
he's
plants?
climbing higher and higher walls to pluck her the flower branches. And then Chris brings a plate for Huda with one pancake and a plate for Shelley with two pancakes and a flower. And Huda is obviously upset because if her pancake situation is not all squared away, she's not happy with her man. So she goes to some of the other women and they're like, oh my God, he gave her flowers. It's not the pancakes, it's the flower. Like that's so telling. And I'm like, no, it's the pancake. Like, yeah, my man wants me fed. If he doesn't want that, he's not my man.
I would have been angry and they sit right next to each other. So when he put those two plates down, like you see Huda she scoped out those pancakes, and I would have also been upset if I got one pancake,
the short stack.
Yes, and the other women you're pursuing got two. Like what?
Right. I mean, this man clearly doesn't have two children because you cannot give one person one pancake and
like,
the other
did he
person
run
two
out of
pancakes.
batter? Like, you only made enough batter for three
He's
pancakes?
like, good enough. Huda, this is all you get, and you should be happy for it. So Huda goes to Chris, and as is her wont, she's like, thank you for the pancakes. Also, my plate was deficient. And she's like, I feel like a side hoe, and you're showing favoritism, which favoritism on Love Island?
No.
Never. It's all impartial. They all just get like enough Valentines for everyone in class, and then they sign them your friend, Chris. And he's like, sorry, is there anything I can do to help you with how you're feeling? And she's like, no, I just want to fix things with Shelley. And she wants two pancakes, so please.
Yeah. Next time, two pancakes and a flower from the highest branch above the villa.
He doesn't even need to climb. He just needs to stretch his arm. That's the advantage of a Chris. So after this, Chris is like, things are clearer now that the person I really want to get to know is Shelley. But I'm also starting to feel closer to Huda, so I need to figure this out. Fortunately, it's starting to get figured out for him because Shelley is mostly ignoring him. And it's got to be a little bit off-putting also how she's dealing with things with Huda, because then Huda is coming to Chris like emotional.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't know if Shelley's completely in the right here. So it's kind of, I feel like that would put me off a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Shelley never came to him to tell Chris like her side either, because she's just not paying attention to him.
Right.
So
as far
of course
as
you're gonna go to like, he's been consoling Huda for the whole day, so he's building a bond with her that Shelley just
right. Like I'm surprised that she didn't kind of expect that to happen by leaving him to hang out with Huda all the time while she and Huda are fighting. That he would start to be like, I'm not sure about this whole Shelley situation. So then Ace and Shelley talk again after the flowers, and apparently that did not fix everything because Shelley now brings up directly that she's upset that he made out with people so hard during the challenge. And Ace is like, well, that's you deflecting. You're not owning what you did with Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is sort of true and also in itself is him deflecting.
Yes. This whole, like, they keep having these conversations. It's like conversation, flowers, conversation, flowers. But nothing comes, like, nothing good. Like, I think I wrote, doesn't seem good for you, dude. Like, that's literally in my note. Like, this is not going, like, she's not.
Yeah.
Which is not, like, usually their conversations are super mature and I enjoy watching them. Like, I have enjoyed watching them throughout the show, but this episode, I was...
Yeah.
They were not on the same level. Like, they just couldn't find, like, common ground.
I think in a weird way, they're too similar. I think that they're sort of both used to kind of running their social sphere with a certain level of, like, calm strength. And they kind of have shown this side to each other where they're sort of... They tease each other a little bit, but it's always very even-keeled, and they keep the same energy with each other. But right now, the energy is defensive and self-justifying and accusatory, and they're just volleying it back at each other, and it's not getting either of them any ground.
Yeah.
So ultimately, I was left, to my absolute shock, kind of sympathizing with Ace, which I never thought I would. But
Same. And, like, Shelley's been my girl. Like, I have put Shelley on, like, I think she's so amazing. And I love the way she's, like, she seemed very, like, into the process and actually finding her person. And she was friends with all the girls. But this, I think the whole Huda situation really threw her for a loop. And her and Ace, I did feel for Ace. You're right, which I never thought I...
Yeah.
Not that I'm not an Ace, like... I don't dislike him, but I'm not, like, his number one fan.
Yeah, I'm definitely not his number one fan. But, like, I think that in this way, it could be sort of satisfying to see him not be in control, because I think he loves to be in control of his relationships. And I don't like when a man is so insistent on being in control of his relationships with women. But Shelley
or men, as we see with Austin.
But I was like, Shelley, he does want to be closed off with you. He is focused on you, and, like, you're not receptive to any sort of entrees into that conversation, but you expect him to abide by your boundaries that you were not mutually agreed on.
Yeah.
Like, that's just not realistic. And they're both just kind of expecting the other person to play by the other person's rules. But let's put that aside for a second, because Cierra gets a text. She and Nic are getting a date, and the whole villa, like, gathers like it's the end of a wedding to, like, send them off. More excited than at most weddings I've been to.
Like, they are very excited. I was a little like, okay, guys, this is cute. I guess nobody's been on a date for a while, though. I think, has it been since, like, Huda and Jeremiah? Like, has anyone left the villa?
That's the only one. I forgot that dates are part of this show. I think also, like, Cierra and Nic are just always having sex in the bed, and
they were like,
they're
go
probably
somewhere
like,
else.
Go somewhere else and have sex, or we can't see or hear you. Please work off some of that, like,
go
sexual
journey.
energy.
Yeah, go take a journey elsewhere.
Go take an actual journey by a waterfall to have your journey by a waterfall. So they have a bike tour of the island, which looks exhausting, but apparently this is Nic's dream date. Whereas Huda's, of course, as we know, is beach. And Nic pours champagne as they set up a picnic at an overlook, and he gets into their romantic conversation. Elan kissing her made him mad. Mm-hmm. And Cierra's like, was that an ego thing, or is it your feelings for me? And he says that he felt protective, which doesn't really address her question to me, because that could be both an ego thing or his feelings for her.
But she loves it.
She's like, cool.
Protective? Cool.
You're protective of me. I mean, she seemed fine. I don't think she needed your protection, but she then brings up that after really marinating on it, she feels uncomfortable about the kiss with Nicolandria, and she wonders if they had to take it that far. And somehow Nic seems surprised at this, even
he's
though
like, really? Oh, if she's and Nic should know better, because we've seen the tape. You know, we got the footage of the kiss, and she hasn't even seen it yet. But it's
Yeah.
like a kiss too. It's not.
Maybe that's why he's surprised. He's like, you haven't even seen the footage yet. He doesn't know that Iris really worked her up about it. But like, it makes sense that in the moment she would also want to be like, it's cool. Like, I love both of you guys. Like, it's cool. But then later she's like, oh no, now I can't stop thinking about my best friend kissing my boyfriend.
My boyfriend, yeah. But Iris, I love Iris just like behind the scenes with her little spoon.
The puppet. The puppeteer.
I love her.
I was like so pissed at her in the moment, but you know what? It was always going to be an issue.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be more of an issue after movie night. And then he's like, well, it gave me clarity on what I want with you. And then he twinkly smiles at her and says, this is where I'd like to formally ask if you'd like to be closed off.
Yeah. And that comes
Cierra
as a surprise to no one.
Yeah. I was like, I can't believe you people aren't closed off already. You're all acting like so possessive of each other, but you're not close. Just have the conversation. What
Yeah.
are you holding on to at this point?
Well,
I guess
didn't he say it was like gravitational? Like the
Yes,
pull
like,
to you is just, I can't
that's-
resist myself. And she said it was a done deal after they, their 20-second journey in the
Yeah.
villa bed. So
Just like Ace said, like, you got to be careful. Sex changes a woman's brain, and suddenly she's monogamous with you, whether you like it or not. And so when I watched this episode, to be clear, I was still a huge Cierra fan, and I was so happy. I even wrote in my notes, I can't believe the heroine of my favorite new rom-com was wearing low-rise distressed Bermuda jorts and chunky white sneakers during the big declaration scene. And
the
now
Tour
I'm
de
like,
Fiji. Like, I couldn't believe that she was like biking in that outfit. I was so proud of her. I was so happy. I was as gleeful as all of them when they returned to the villa.
yeah.
But you're so right. Like my brain has been clouded by what happened
Yeah,
in
the
episode
twinkle is
26.
gone.
Yeah.
The shimmer has gone. I was like, oh, I love middle school love. They're telling their friends. Everyone's so excited for them. And now I'm like, whatever.
It was
They're closed
very
off.
like
Next.
summer nights, Greece. Like I was just thrilled.
Yeah. But alas, let's just talk about something else. Let's talk about the new connections, which are starting to splinter as the pressures of really being coupled up in the villa emerge. Amaya tells Chris that she feels Zach isn't trying to get to know any of the girls, including her. He's just kind of like chilling by himself.
Which
I don't know
is.
if I don't think this is the right setting for him. And then whenever he's asked about it, he's just like, I just needed space. My head's a mess because of
this.
my connection and my connection with Nicolandria. And I'm like, what do you mean? What connection with Nicolandria?
Yeah, I'm like, wait, rewind. I don't remember your connection with Nicolandria. Like, I thought you sent her home.
Suddenly it's really troubling him. I'm like, why don't you go talk to her then? But no, this is just not maybe
He's
the
always
setting
just
for
hanging
someone.
by like the breakfast bar. I notice like he doesn't know what to do. I feel like he's just this isn't his environment.
Unfortunately, I think that they were just like, Miguel, do you have any hot friends? And he was like, I do. And they didn't really look into whether he has the right sort of personality for television dating. Elan confides in Brian that he hasn't spoken to Cierra since she told him she still wanted to explore with him too back in Casa Amor. So he just has to go by that and assume she still wants to explore with him. And Brian is like, no, she doesn't though. She's on a date.
And then Nic and Cierra like walk in the moment these two are like directly by the entrance of the villa, like sitting in chairs. He's like, no, I think I should explore. And Brian's like, no, you shouldn't. And they come in and they're like, we're couples up. And he lands like, oh. And I see him clapping like with all the guys to like celebrate Nic.
They're like, yay.
Poor Elan.
I'm so happy my enemy gets to go on journeys with my girl. So Elon is like, it's finally time for me to have the opportunity to talk to Amaya. And they bond over loving their families. Always a good way to bond with a contestant on a reality dating show, because most people do. And then we learned that Amaya thinks Belgium is in Germany.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, it's an entire country, actually.
She's like,
It's a
oh, Belgium,
small country.
Germany? I love her for it. Like in the moment. I'm like, I love you so much.
Geographically, she's not super far off.
Yeah.
But it is a
But
country.
she admits, like, maps aren't her thing.
Yeah, there are a lot of countries in the world, Andrina approaches Pepe because as things have gotten kind of sour with Brian, she's been having this crush on Pepe. And she really puts herself out there. But Pepe is like, no, because I really want to see things out with Grayson.
Yeah, he just automatically shuts her down. And Andrina cannot believe it. She's like, I have never, ever been shut down. Nobody has ever turned me down.
No one's ever friend zoned me. I'm like, Andrina, what must that do to your brain chemistry?
Yeah.
Like, I can't imagine walking through a world never being friend zoned.
Yeah, I mean, I was friend zoned basically my whole life. No?
Yeah, I my whole life I was just like, man, I always hear men talking about being friend zoned like it's something that only happens to men, but it happens to me every day of my life. It's so funny.
Poor Andrina, I feel so bad for her.
I know. It's tough, but you know what? We've survived and here we are. We made it through. Zach and Nicolandria do eventually like reopen their little flirtation, and it seems like this time she's actually being flirty with him and not like in Casa sitting there with like a sort of stony face having a perfunctory conversation with him.
Just being like, Taylor.
Yeah, I miss my man. But yeah, no, I completely agree with your outlook on relationships, Zach. That's great. Meanwhile, Shelly and Huda, though they don't speak to each other, do speak to some other people about what's going on. Shelly tells Cierra that she's still upset at Huda and maybe they can be cordial. And she still loves her a lot. But she can love her over there, far away from her and her friends and her men, and they just won't be in each other's lives. They'll just love each other from afar.
That's true love, you know?
Yeah.
Never seeing someone.
That's a form of love. Yeah. No, I love her so much. I just hate her, so we don't speak.
Yeah, we don't speak or see each other anymore.
Yeah, because I can't stand to be around her, but I love her so much.
So deeply.
Huda and Chris speak in the speakeasy. And she asks about how things are going with Shelly. I do feel like Huda is trying too hard. Part of what's happening, I think, is also an overreaction to people being like, you're doing too much with Jeremiah. So she's constantly like, I'm cool. Like, I'm interested in Chris, but like, he can totally still explore with Shelly. In fact, I'm going to ask him about it constantly. Like, how's Shelly? Like, isn't she so wonderful? Are you still into her? Like, how's that going? I'm also great. Do you want to make out? But like, Shelly's your number one.
Poor Huda. I really do feel like you can see her trying to balance, like, I'm interested in him, but I told Shelly that we can share him. So, like, I want to check that Shelly. But she's, I'm like, just explore Chris. Just be with Chris. Like, Shelly's clearly, I think she's moved on, or at least Ace is her priority.
And I can see why this gets on Shelly's nerves. I think she overreads a little bit. Like, if Huda says, I connected with Chris and I do want to get to know him, but also like now he can still get to know you. I think Shelly somehow took that as I only paired up with him for you, which is not exactly what she said. But I can understand that it would grate a little bit to have Huda constantly being like, I'm doing everything for you. Like, let's not acknowledge my selfish motives. Those aren't real.
Yeah. She's really trying to be like Shelly's best friend. Like, she really wants the girls to like her.
Yeah.
And I got that sense a lot, like these episodes. Yeah. But all of us at home are just like, do you, girl? Like, I mean, Huda and Jeremiah were fantastic TV, so
they were great. I mean,
I was for it.
There were definitely upsides in terms of narrative drama.
I mean, very messy. I feel like Chris is good for Huda.
In the speakeasy, she asks about Shelly, and he ends up saying that he's taking a step back because he fucks with Huda, and she beams. It's obviously also because Shelly isn't paying attention to him, but that's fine. He's turning his attention to Huda, as he should.
Yes.
And they spend some time like bonding, talking about whether he's cheated. Yes, but only emotionally. What his type is, emotionally unstable women. Surprise, surprise.
I loved this. I like cackled at this moment.
I know. She's like, I don't think I am. I'm like, oh, no one thinks they are.
Yeah.
And then they lick each other's tongues.
Yeah, it's a lot. They really, went in there.
They really did.
That's speakeasy.
It's dangerous.
A lot.
So that brings us to the end of episode 25. Episode 26 is mostly hell. We're talking about the stand on business game.
Oh my gosh.
And I mean, the rest of what happens this episode is almost like beside the point, to be honest.
Yeah.
Except that Pepe does, before the game starts, tell some of the boys he's not feeling a spark with Grayson, even though he just turned down Andrina for Grayson.
Yeah, it's like he slept on it. Like, I've been thinking about Hannah,
Yeah.
so now I don't like Grayson either.
Yeah. And Grayson, meanwhile, tells Iris that she can feel that Pepe is pulling back. And Iris is like, he wouldn't make you breakfast if he didn't like you. I'm like, Iris, yes, he would.
Yes, he would. They all make breakfast no matter what.
Breakfast. It would be
even
so...
for the single girls. Breakfast all around.
Everyone gets breakfast. He's not a monster. Like, that's like a very pointed thing to be like, I'm not just not interested in you. I'm angry at you. It's your fault I'm not interested in you.
Yeah.
So the other big conversation that happens is that Amaya pulls Zach to ask him why he didn't talk to her the day before. But she doesn't really ask him. She just like points out that he didn't talk to her. And then every time he tries to respond, she interrupts him to offer her own theory as to why he didn't pull her. She's a talker.
I love when she's like, she doesn't want her flowers to dry out.
Oh, yeah.
Without water, you know?
They have to water their love plant or the flowers will dry up.
She always has these cute little isms.
And his response to all this when he finally gets a chance to talk is, you have legs too.
Yeah, I was like, okay, Zach, just, well, you might as well just dig yourself a hole because Amaya.
Yeah. Once you're pulling the phone works both ways on your romantic partner, I think it's over.
I think it's done. Yeah.
That's something you say to like your dad when he guilts you for not calling often enough to show him videos of his grandchildren.
Or like what my kids do to me when like the snack bags are all over my living room and I'm like, throw them away. Like you're 4 years old, like pick it up. But you can throw it out for us, Mom.
Yeah.
What kind of parent am I?
Like it's true that she can pull him. She literally pulled him for this conversation, so she clearly knows that. But like, of course you want to feel active interest coming from your partner. And like, obviously this is just doomed. Like, for the third time, Amaya's paired with a guy who is like really excited with how warm and loving she is, and then is like, but I hate it actually.
Yeah, but they don't tell her that. They tell each other.
Well, Ace told her within 30 seconds of coupling up with her.
But he's a leader, Claire. He's a leader.
He's a leader. He's a leader, and he just speaks what's on his heart because he has heart. Yeah. So they get the text saying that they're going to do this stand-on business game, which I don't think is a staple of the show, though I don't watch it. And I feel like it would immediately ruin any season where
it caused some... I watched last season of Love Island, and I'm not really like a Love Island UK person, so I don't know if it's a thing, but it really wreaked havoc.
Yeah, like, and it just changes the way that you look at people to see them saying these things to the people who are supposed to be their friends. Mm-hmm. And like, it's not that you never want to see them air things out, but it turns it into more of like a housewife situation where part of the fun is that they all like backstab and hate each other. But that's not what this kind of show is to me. And it changes the way that I look at these people.
Yeah, because they're all like sitting there together.
Yeah.
Like having these conversations as a group, and they're able to like, team up.
Right.
On the defense, and it's not like airing out your problems to somebody face to face. You have to like do it in front of everyone, and then everyone has an opinion.
In back up. Yeah.
It was messy.
It was really messy. Mm-hmm. And like, yeah, I just think the business of this show is finding love, and so the drama is supposed to come from that. And then you kind of prefer, in my case, to see the friends support each other through that. And it just leaves a bad taste to see them doing like housewives style, like clique forming. And so they find out that they're going to be able to send postcards to each other, signed or unsigned, to reveal how they really feel about things. So they all sit around writing postcards, very excited to finally call people out. And I saw a tweet saying that this was giving like group project in middle school. And it's like, yes, but the group project is bullying.
Yeah.
They're like, I can't wait for us to all team up on this loser.
Especially when they were like sitting together in groups, like writing their postcards. Like, what are you going to write? And then they walk up to the mailbox together, like the three boys.
Oh, yeah.
And put their postcards in.
You do not want to be reminded that these people would have bullied you in high school. You want to feel like they would be hanging out with you in high school. Yeah. But in fact, no.
Nope. The whole time.
Yeah, they would see you at the homecoming dance and they'd make a mean comment about your dress that you got at Kohl's. So that night they all walked to the fire pit and like this was the clearest demonstration yet that there are too many people. Like they're visibly jostling each other as they walk to the fire pit because it's so crowded.
There's not
and
enough room.
They barely all fit.
And some people didn't even get postcards because there was just not enough time for everyone.
Like, I'm sorry, no one has a postcard for Grayson. Like, I can't imagine that anyone had anything to say to Grayson.
Yeah.
But, you know, some of them are pretty nothing. Like, even Austin, who's been there the whole time, he gets a note that's anonymous saying that...
You've been here the whole time.
Yeah. How have you made it this far? You don't give any effort. And Andrina's like, that was me. I don't think you give any girl effort. And he's like, I do, though. And everyone's like, good job, Austin.
He does.
Nicolandria gets a note from Clark saying that she knows Nicolandria thinks Clark is just a test and their connection, hers and Taylor's, is only physical, but it's more than that. And Nicolandria's like, congrats.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
Like, what else is there to say? A lot of them, though, get much more tough to watch and much more thorny. So Cierra gets a question that's also to Shelley and Nicolandria from Pepe, asking why they sent Hannah home even though she actually explored an unsafe connection with another person. And Cierra says that she felt Iris had something budding with TJ, which I'm sorry, I don't care.
No,
they could leave.
Barely, but like what?
Like, I don't care about them. They're boring. Sorry, bye. And Amaya hadn't had the chance for a connection, whereas Hannah had gotten to explore two really strong connections, quote, and be lucky for it.
Yeah. What? This whole, I still, like, they dance around the Hannah thing so much, but it never makes sense to me. Like, so if you have a strong connection with Nick, so you want someone to send you home because you've been lucky enough to find that?
That's the thing. Like, it's like, I'm sorry, you sit here from having the most luck of anyone and you want to pass judgment on whether other people who got much less should be grateful for how lucky they were.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
This is when I was like, wait, what? Cierra. And he did call out to the group that becomes the true bullies of this episode.
Yeah.
Shelley, Nicolandria, and Cierra. And as they're explaining their whole Hannah vote out, I'm just, it will never make sense to me. After seeing how upset, and they loved her. Like, she was their bestie. They miss her every
day. They miss her every day.
But after seeing how upset she was with Charlie leaving, and then she finally, like, got a chance to form a connection with Pepe, and then you send her home, and your reasoning is Iris? Like, no.
Iris is going to get to be with TJ. Like,
no.
They can't,
Iris went through so much
off.
because of Jeremiah and Huda. Like, I don't think she even cared about that. Like,
no, it's absurd. And I think they would be better served by just being like, we really just, like, didn't know what to do. Like, it's not fair to Hannah. We wish she hadn't gone home. But, like, in the moment, we just panicked and we had to pick someone.
Yes, we picked someone with the biggest connection. The one that can, like, maybe, like, find love at the end of this.
That was crazy. And the audacity to say that she was lucky for it, I thought was, like, a really bad look. Yeah. That made me angry. And she also was like, Pepe, you really wanted to explore. And with Hannah, you were tunnel vision. Now here you are with Grayson. You wouldn't have gotten to have this connection that you are not into if we hadn't gotten rid of the connection you actually liked.
Yeah. What is with this tunnel vision, like, I mean, I get that the Huda Jeremiah situation that created this, like, you know, tunnel vision, love bombing narrative or whatever. And I agree with that to one point. But why can't someone really just be interested in one person? Like, why can't there be tunnel vision? Like, why do you have to be interested in 10 people? Like,
well, they can when it's them. They can, like, she can just be mostly interested in Nick. You know, Nick can mostly just be interested in her. Like, sure, like, they explore other people, but Taylor and Nicolandria were barely exploring for the first, like, 3 weeks of the show. They barely talked to anyone else, and no one gave them shit for it.
But they're, like, you know, the top couple. They're who everyone wanted to be. Taylor, how could you do that to Nicolandria?
Then Taylor does explore, and it's how dare you. Yeah. I can't believe they have me on Team Taylor.
I know.
For a second.
I know.
Because he has been, that's the thing. By the end of this episode, I was mad at almost everyone. Mm-hmm. There was no, like, leave Taylor alone. It was like, no, go after Taylor, but you are also being very rude.
Yeah. I don't like any of you.
So then Amaya Papaya goes. She's in papaya orange, and she has no idea she's about to be obliterated. I think she was excited to, like, call people out, but it seems like her call outs were a little bit more, like,
personal.
and fun. Yeah.
Yeah,
like, not-
hers. But no, to her directly.
but
Like
the ones directed to her were very
Yes.
personal. Like, your personality is bad.
yeah, like
someone-
the snoring one, you're like, oh, she snores, and Chris is like, making a little
That was
stop
cute.
snoring. And then it just
It
snowballed.
escalates.
Oh my goodness.
So someone wrote, "You cry more than needed. You try to move too fast for everyone." And of course, she immediately starts crying and says, "God forbid I'm a sensitive gangster." And everyone applauds. And she says, I see this as a strength. If you don't, I'm not your cup of tea to be drinking, so don't fucking drink it. I do agree with that.
Yep.
None of these, she never, that's the thing. She wasn't to me ever possessive the way Huda was. She was intense, but if you're not into it, you are certainly welcome to be like,
Yeah, that's just
I'm
her
gonna back off from
personality.
this.
She's been like
Yeah.
that with every single couple she's been in. This is just Amaya. She's deep feeling. She's sensitive. She cares.
I think that if Zach sat down Amaya and was like, listen, you're so great, and here are the reasons I was drawn to you, but I think that we just have different styles in relationships, and I'm looking for something a little bit different. I think we should explore other people more. I
she
think that,
would have been fine, I think.
I think so too,
Yeah.
but it's not something anyone is ever capable of doing with her.
No.
And Austin admits he wrote this card. He's like, the intensity, the expectations were way too high. She tries to defend herself, but then Ace stops her and again slams her for saying babe too much and says she needs to meet people at a middle ground. Like,
Yeah.
Ace, shut up. Like, this is not your card. Like, if you want to air something out with Amaya, then you can write her a card.
Yeah, and as we remember, like how intense he was with her, like when she first was a bombshell,
And then
But
he
we
wanted
get our
to use
hero
this.
on a white horse, Brian, who comes in.
Brian
Just-
defends her.
I loved it. I loved it so much.
He's like, this is just how people talk in Hispanic households. It's cultural. And like, you also have to meet her halfway. And Ace says, he did.
No.
I'm sorry, what?
when.
Where is the meeting
Yeah.
halfway? Is he
Also,
in the
this
room
wasn't
with
your,
us?
like, you didn't write the card, so why are you
Right.
chiming in? This is when it started to be like, people were piggybacking and grabbing onto stuff and like inserting themselves.
Well, Amaya's already crying over all of these like comments. And Zach is like, I got to get my lick in too. Like, she's already weeping. Do you feel the need to continue to pile on this weeping woman? And he's like, yeah, I let you kiss me and I let you be intense with me, but it's really too much. I'm like, you guys are basically already over. Like, why is this necessary?
Why is this a thing? And why are all three of you like telling her what you should have told her to her face? Like, you didn't tell her any of this, especially Austin. He just drives me nuts.
I know, that
But,
was crazy. I'm
like,
like,
why
you were
write the
in a couple
postcard
with her.
anonymous and then come out and say it was me? And then you look ridiculous because you could have just told her this, but instead you told, everybody else.
Yeah.
Or all your bros. And so Amaya really had no idea that Austin even felt that way.
Yeah, which comes up again as the night goes on.
Mhm.
She, at this point, though, runs out crying, obviously, because all the men are just, like, chiming in to, like, criticize her, make her feel, like, not good enough, too much, undesirable, shitty. And, like, it really upset me. She runs out crying. Cierra and Ace try to go after her, and everyone else has to basically
like,
stop
guilt all of a
Ace.
sudden.
It's like, Ace, she probably doesn't want to talk to you. Like, sit with that for a second. I was also especially pissed that he did this right after using the, like, babe thing for a cute little moment at the Hearts on Fire challenge. And now you want to step in and be like, it's also still bad to say babe.
Say babe.
fuck
Like,
off,
I still
fuck
don't
off.
like how you say babe.
Pepe gets an anonymous note asking if he's been playing it safe since Hannah left. And everyone knows he doesn't like Grayson as much. And I was like, did Pepe write this?
He might have.
I think he might. No one else. This is like one of the only anonymous ones that no one admits to, if not the only one. And we know that he wanted to tell her that. I think he wrote this card.
He probably did because he told a few of the guys like earlier in the day, like, oh, I'm feeling like I miss Hannah. But I was proud of
Yeah.
Grayson here, who hasn't had a ton of screen time, but she stands up for herself. And she's like, okay, so if you're happy that you have Hannah, like maybe outside the villa, let me go and like explore other people because now I'm just like in a couple with you, but you don't want me. Then I want to, this is Love Island. Like I want to meet other people and like talk.
And some of the new Villa girls have been saying earlier, like that they're their men are getting possessive and it's hard for them to explore. And they just got here. And these men are clearly all like, well, this is the connection I picked after being here for a long time. So we got to be pretty locked down. No, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
These women want to explore.
No, but he like shoots her down too. I don't know if that was maybe like the editors like, we're running out of time, but he's just like, no, I think we're done. I think we're done discussing. Like, we're good. And she's like,
I don't think it was just the edit, because she's like, please let me talk to other people then. And he's like, I'm just trying to be respectful. And then he sits down and says, it's okay. And she says, for who? Like, what? It's okay for you. You feel respect. Like, to respect her is to tell her this morning to her face that you weren't feeling it and you both should explore other options.
Yeah.
And that's not what you did. You clearly wrote a little anonymous card to yourself so that you could reject her in front of everyone else.
He looked very prepared for that question.
I know. And I was so mad because I liked Pepe a lot. He was actually one of my favorite guys. And I thought this was really I thought this was really disappointing. Ace gets an anonymous question asking why he hasn't closed off if his connection is so strong. And Amaya says that it was from her. And Ace says he's never been the controlling type, LMAO. Mm-hmm. And Shelley wants to explore. Meanwhile, Shelley keeps saying, well, he wants to like, they're both like, that
I'm like,
person
where did this come from? Like, who wants to explore? When did you guys talk about this? Like,
they both have to explore because the other person wants to explore. No one will take ownership of wanting to explore. Austin wrote him a note saying that his posse follows whatever he says. And with Jeremiah, it was damned if he did, damned if he didn't. Man, I hate to side with Austin. But what's incredible is that this becomes a head-to-head battle between two questionable men being really correct about each other.
Yeah. And like what we've all been watching too, like what viewers are saying about Ace, like Austin said it to his face without knowing what we're all thinking at home.
I know. I was like, he sees it.
Yeah.
But then Ace also sees all of Austin's flaws. Like, they really got each other dead to rights in this conversation. But what results is one of those, like, conversations that, like, almost like Ace has with Shelley, where they're both, like, accurately diagnosing what the other person is doing wrong, but they're using it to deflect from the fact that they are also not doing things right.
Yeah.
So Ace completely goes off on Austin. He's like, Andrina, was Jeremiah coming on strong? And she says, yes. And Ace is like, see, love bombing. Again, I might only be 5'10". Sure you are, Ace. But I'm a leader and I speak my mind because I have heart and you don't. And I mean, he does clearly really identify as a leader who speaks his mind. I think that's clear.
Yeah.
And this is when he points out that Austin is never direct. Like, Ace is like, yeah, I speak my mind and I tell people what to do because that's like the kind of amazing person I am. Whereas you won't tell people how you feel directly. And I'm like, yes, Ace, you tell people what to do too much. Austin doesn't tell people enough what he's feeling.
But his whole like premise of like, you're 6'2", like you should be able to tell people stuff. Like, what does this height have to do with anything?
If I had a mere 5'10", I do think there's a little bit of Napoleon complex going on here.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm 5'10", Ace, and there's no way I'm shorter than him.
No, I think that Ace is trying to sort of overly assert his leadership and dominance constantly because he's a little bit insecure about his height.
But it's like, we love short kings. Like, who cares?
Yeah, and he's always like, yeah, I'm a short king. I don't care about it. It's fine.
Sure.
I'm
but he's
5'8",
like, Chris is in here.
I'm
Like, look at this guy. Ooh, Austin. Ooh. It's like, clearly he's upset.
It's like, oh, you think you're better than me because you're tall, bro? And it's like, what? No, that's literally not what we were talking about. We're talking about your overly controlling personality.
Yeah, but personality and height is the same thing. And
it is. Yeah. Men's personalities depend on their heights. Women, as Emma and I have been discussing, all have the same personality inside one body. This appears to be what Taylor thinks.
Yep.
And he's like, you wouldn't tell Amaya how you felt. You came to us complaining about her like she was Pepe Le Pew, like she won't leave me alone, but you wouldn't tell her that. And she doesn't understand that because you don't say that. And then Amaya steps in and is like, yeah, actually, a lot of this is still news to me. You never have told me this. And Austin is like, please, this isn't your conversation.
Yeah. It's like, but wait. She was brought in. Yes, it's about her. So
everyone else was allowed to chime in with their thoughts on how much Amaya sucked. But suddenly Amaya can't speak on how Austin was never honest with her, which is the topic of this conversation.
And I love how Austin always puts himself in these like awkward situations because he just doesn't think anything through. But he's sitting there like blushing and he's like cow. Like he's like afraid.
Yeah, I was like, I really want both Ace and Austin to be kind of to see themselves in a mirror a little bit through this, but I suspect that that they only see each other with any accuracy. Shelley has a lot of cards. Shelley has a card from Ace, who wants to use this challenge to reopen the argument about how she wants boundaries during challenges, but also continue to explore.
Isn't that something like, yeah, you guys should just talk about this one-on-one, but he knows that they're not getting anywhere, so he's like, I need my friends to back me up. Like, I need other people to chime in on this so like they could side with me.
I'm also like, maybe call me a romantic, but I think this could be a cute moment to be like, I really, I choose you and I want us to be closed off, and whatever I need to do to get there, that's what I want.
Oh, Claire, that would have lightened the mood completely. This episode would have changed immediately.
But instead it's like framed in this really dickish way.
Yeah, because Ace is...
And
Ace.
Yeah, Ace is just Ace.
He's Ace.
And Shelley is just being Shelley, I guess. She's like, well, you wanted to explore. He's like, that's fine. Then why are you putting a boundary on me? And she says to make them both comfortable, but clearly it's to make her comfortable.
Yeah.
And then they both sort of turn to the group for feedback. They're like, am I the confused one? Yes, you both are very confused.
While we're talking about this, I'm still just picturing Shelley like in her like bunny outfit.
Oh yeah, with the little
she's
pink
not
collar
at this point, but that's how I'm picturing her because
it's such a memorable look.
Yes, it really is.
Cierra pipes up here and is like, well, you didn't set boundaries for the challenge. And when Shelley expressed her feelings about that afterward, Ace, it was an opportunity for you to like build on that, but you didn't, which I think is actually sort of true. But also maybe Shelley could have expressed it more constructively as well. A lot of missed opportunities here. And then Ace says, okay, but how do I look if I'm pulling back, but she's still exploring?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, so this really is just about ego.
Yep. That's all it is about with him. And
yeah. You're like, I have to keep going hard until she is closed off with me, but she doesn't want to close off because you're still going hard, as far as I can tell.
And it's just like a circle of like, if they just keep talking about the same thing, then I'm like, ooh, I don't know. Like, I always thought they'd end up together. But after these episodes,
it leaves a bad taste.
Yeah, I'm not feeling it.
She's asked about Chris, and she says that she's like upset because certain intentions that Chris stated in Casa weren't followed through. And he's like, which ones? She says, you're not really making effort. What about the 2 pancakes and the flowers?
Yeah. Gosh.
She's like, there's no eye contact. I'm just like not feeling like you're pursuing me. And he's really pissed by this, clearly, because he seems to feel that he was pursuing her and she was giving him nothing. And so he eventually pulled back.
Yeah. Which I agree with. Like, I agree with Chris here.
Like, this comes up again during his round, but it's so over by then. The conversation is over, which Shelley didn't expect, I think, when they were writing the postcards. But, like, she just thinks that Chris said that he would pursue her, and so he's obligated to keep doing that until she tells him that she's done with it. But Chris actually is a free agent, and he's actually specifically coupled up with someone else. There's no reason that he can't change his mind about who he's interested in pursuing.
Now, do you feel she like feels this way because of how she was with, Austin and Ace for so long, where she always had someone's attention and she was just deciding who to choose, per se?
Yeah, she probably got used to that dynamic, which is not surprising.
Yeah.
Maybe, especially, like, you look at these people, they're so hot. Like, I think that it's the norm for them to have that kind of power in these settings. But, like, I still don't think we've seen anyone do this specific thing that she's doing right now, which is to say, like, I have a primary connection that basically no one can even touch in challenges, and that's disrespectful if they do. And I also have a secondary connection, and no one can touch him outside of challenges either until I've decided I'm done with him. Like, you can't claim dibs on 2 people at once.
No.
Like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry that Huda is annoying you in the way she's going about it, but Huda
I
has
think it's
every
just more
right.
the fact that Chris is with Huda
Yeah.
and not someone else, that she's like in her head about it, maybe like that he has to be. I don't know. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. So Shelly gets a card from Huda saying, like, you always told me it was just a challenge. And you said that you and Ace were open. And Shelly is like, I was just telling you to lay off the bombshells. They didn't even know you. They owed you nothing, which I think is fair. She was really mean to the bombshells.
Yeah.
And Huda's like, I'm sorry. All I can say is it won't happen again. All I want is to be friends. I want your forgiveness. It's okay if you can't do that. And Shelly's just like, whatever, bye. Like, she doesn't even really respond.
She's over it. She's like, I'm done.
She's like,
Nope.
whatever. Huda's next, and hers
gosh.
is. I mean, I kind of enjoyed hers because she is very quickly angry enough that she is not trying to win anyone over anymore. She's just like,
Yeah.
I can't believe that you guys are saying this stuff to me.
And she knew it too. She's like, I'm going to
Yeah.
have a stack. Like, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
But I think she was still somehow surprised by the content of the stack.
Yeah.
For example, from Nick, I feel like Hannah was robbed of her Love is Blind experience twice while you should have been dumped. And I'm like, Nick, you were just talking to her by the dog and being like, I'm always here for you.
Yeah.
I don't want you to feel alone. And then you go in front of everyone or like, you shouldn't even be here.
Be here. And he goes, and it shouldn't come as a surprise because, like, I voted for you twice. Like,
And he did, but it's always that weird thing he's doing where he's like, oh, it's okay, Huda. I think Huda should go home. But it's okay, Huda. But you should, yeah, get her out of here. It's confusing.
he like tries to make himself like, look, I'm the good guy of the villa. Like, look, I come and check on everybody. And then he's like, but behind your back, like, you should have went home weeks ago.
Right. Like, why are you even saying, like, what can she do about it? Everyone else made the decision. She didn't make any of those decisions. And I think they should have sent her home again because it's just been simmering and now they're just bullying her. Mm-hmm. The next card is, do you think you've been following girl code with Chris and Shelly's relationship? And she's like getting pissed. She's like, this is Love Island. We're all open. The end.
Yeah. Also, they're coupled up. Like, Chris and Huda are a couple. Like, Shelly is not.
Yeah.
She's with Ace. So they're like, Huda's not doing anything wrong. I do not understand why.
The only difference, as far as I can tell, with like anyone else is that like Elon wanted to focus on Cierra, from what I can tell, and hasn't really been trying to get to know anyone else until Cierra closed off. But if Chris wants to talk to someone else, why shouldn't Huda talk to him? He's available. So is she. What is she supposed to do?
Elon was like taken, as like the last straw with Nicolandria.
Right.
Like, come on in, join the crew. Like, Chris and Huda like picked each other.
Yeah.
Because I think he knew that Shelly would pick Ace too. So
yeah.
I don't know.
So somehow in all of this, Nicolandria ends up piping up to tell everyone something that Huda had confided in her earlier, which is that Chris and Huda kissed in the speakeasy. And now Chris and Huda are both furious that Nicolandria aired this out in front of everyone because they wanted to be the ones to share that information if and when they chose. Mm-hmm. And Nicolandria is like, well, if you're going to keep pushing the sisterhood thing. I'm like, Nicolandria, you made out with Nick like 2 days ago. Like, why are you doing this?
This is what we have to get, because Nicolandria's she's my girl, and she lost me here. Like, the girls, you're not a girl's girl because you did this. But I'm like, you were just making out with Nick so hard and claiming Cierra is your best friend.
Is this Love Island or is it not Love Island? Please, like, I almost wonder if they kept her around because they thought she would be so humbled that she'd never threaten them again. Mm-hmm. And instead she's like moving freely about, trying to make connections. Or they want to hold her to her own standards from before, which were insane. And they kept telling her they were insane. But they want to go by their own standards, which are much more relaxed.
Yeah.
They're like, Huda, you have to abide by those standards and we have different ones. And that's fair because you had those standards earlier.
Yeah, it just felt like they were all teaming up on her, and it was just...
Yeah.
But they weren't turning look in the mirror. Like, you guys are doing the same stuff to each other.
It was so hard to watch.
Which is worse, because you're claiming you're best friends.
Yeah. I mean, and that's one of their main things with Huda is, like, you keep saying, you're a girl's girl, girl code. I think that Huda isn't always very good at that, but
she isn't. But I also see like she's admitted it before. Like, she doesn't come from like a group of girlfriends, and she's not used to this dynamic, and it's not her like comfort zone. So she's trying to like figure out how to be a quote unquote girl's girl. She's never had that.
Yeah.
And so she's like, I don't know. She just feels uncomfortable a lot, like with the girls. Like she's really trying, which makes me sad as like a girl watching at home. I'm like,
and
she just wants to make friends.
And she's doing a lot of like, I love you girls. I'm a girl's girl. I love you guys so much. But then she doesn't quite know the ways that they expect her to move around them. And it's frustrating. Sometimes she does things that seem really selfish and inconsiderate, but when she tries to do those things, it doesn't feel authentic and it comes off as a bit forced, and they hate that also, which I don't know. It's just a bad situation. Meanwhile, Chris is already pissed by his turn, and Cierra asks if he's even into Huda or just wants to stay to be on TV, and he's like, yes, I am, and I don't give a fuck about being in the villa. I could be overseas playing ball because I'm 6'8", bitches. Chris out.
I don't need to be here.
And then we end with Taylor, who has a lot of questions. Someone asks how a strong connection he had with Nicolandria could change so quickly, and he says he got a different feeling with Clark, like a kid feeling. And Nicolandria's like, how old are you? 25? You can't have a kid feeling.
I hated this, though. Yeah. I was like, wait, you've never, like, really liked somebody where you're, like, he just meant, like, he's giddy and excited about it. Yeah. And she just really... You can see how bitter and angry she is at him.
The thing about Nicolandria is that she's mad that he is not choosing to stay with her when he's not into her. And I think she should be mad that he didn't tell her weeks ago that he wasn't into her. Yeah. He's never really been.
Nope.
So she wrote, stand on business and stop acting like a little bitch on her card. And...
Which gave me Huda vibes. Like, what?
I know. The men are all bitches.
Yeah, it was a lot. I'm like, I just don't... I get it. I think what he did to Nicolandria is like wrong and terrible. But again, he hasn't liked her like she thinks he has. And we all know that watching, but she doesn't.
Yeah.
But to call him like a bitch for that, I don't know. I started to turn to Taylor's side.
Well, I think like Shelley, Cierra, or I think like Shelley Nicolandria has been holding a lot in order to present a better face. And like, I'm sorry, it also doesn't look good to unload like this, even if it's a challenge. Like, it almost would have looked better to address some of this directly instead of having these friendly conversations with Taylor where you're like, oh yeah, we're still exploring, but you're absolutely steaming underneath.
Yeah.
You know, like, just say it in the moment. She's like, it's always fuck my feelings, so now it's fuck yours. Like, you never gave me the respect you give Clark. You know, you would have sent me home. Like, you're not the reason I'm still here. And if I had done that, you wouldn't be here. Instead, when Jalen was here, I reassured you every day. I've been getting dumped left and right, taking shit on the chin. You would never clarify what you wanted from me. And I was like, you know, she makes some points. He did never really clarify things for her. Mm-hmm. He was just coasting. And then Taylor gets kind of mean. Yeah. And I didn't like this either. He was like, you want me to think and move for you, but it's an individual experience. I'm not moving to keep you here. You wanted me to move for you. And I'm like, well, yeah, she felt like she was moving for you. And she wanted to build a mutual relationship. It's not like some sort of like big win for you to be like, no, I'm actually being incredibly selfish and I don't give a fuck about you.
No, but Taylor seems to forget that was his whole thing with her was he was like obsessed with her. He wanted her so badly to like him, and he went after her and he did all this stuff, and then he meets Clark and that is all wiped away. So to Nicolandria, she's like, what was that? Like, what did we have? Where maybe Taylor's starting to realize, oh, I didn't like her as much as I thought I did because now I have this kid feeling with Clark, and maybe this is love. Like,
I don't think he ever really liked. He told one of the guys that he wasn't even attracted to her early on. I'm just like, Taylor, this was all fake to me, and I don't think that it's some clever thing to be like, I got you to keep me around this whole time, but I was never gonna reciprocate in any way. It's all about me. I don't think that's charming. And the next card says, make up your damn mind. And he's really feeling himself by now. So he's like grinning and he's like, you want me to make up my mind? I pick Clark. Like, of course, he already picked Clark.
He already picked her. Like, I wasn't like, like,
I know.
It's very obvious that he was going to pick her.
Like, just stop pretending that you're still exploring Nicolandria. It's so obvious that if you wanted Nicolandria, you would have stuck with her after having more time with her. It's not realistic that you're going to suddenly want to go back to her when you're not even excited about her right now.
Yeah.
It's just, This was like ridiculous.
And it was really hard to see Alandria like so upset. She's usually very like collected, and she was angry. And it made me sad for her because she deserves to be. Like, she was kind of strung along, and she, like she said, she's a slow burner, and she put a lot of time and effort into him. So I'm even surprised she wanted to stay in the villa when they like asked her back at the last recoupling. I thought she would just like kind of leave on her own accord, because like I wouldn't want to go back to that. Like, he's not worth it. Like,
no, and there's not really time left for her to make a meaningful other connection, I don't think. And obviously she's just carrying a ton of anger, and that makes a lot of sense. But you think you're gonna act composed for a couple days and he's gonna go back to you and you can be like, ha ha, I won. Yeah. No, you're just gonna be here stewing with your rage over how he tossed you aside like yesterday's garbage.
Yeah.
Or an uncooked pancake that's raw in the middle. He's just dropping you in the trash. I don't know. This was such a grim ending to this batch of episodes, and I went from like being so obsessed and happy with the show at the beginning of it to now I'm just like, I think I hate this show.
I really was so upset after last night. Like,
yeah.
And I was so like, after Monday night, I was like, oh, I'm looking forward to chatting.
I know.
And then I was like, oh my God, like, how am I going to chat about? There's just too much too. Like, we didn't even like skim the surface, because that's how, like,
I know.
And we really went downhill.
We still went way over time, but we also didn't get to everything. This show is so frustrating. But Leigh, thank you so much for joining for this conversation, which was much more depressing and emotional than we expected. But it was still such a pleasure to discuss with you. Before you go, do you want to rate this batch of episodes out of 10 on whether it's your type on paper, 10 being your type to a T and 1 being the opposite of your type?
Oh my God, this is like a 1 or 2. This is the opposite of my type. Maybe like episode 25 was like a 5, and episode 26 was a 1.
I think that's the thing. I think the first half of the batch for me was like a 10. I was so happy. I was like weeping during episodes with actual joy. And then the other, like, then it ended at a 1. So I don't even know how to rate that. Like,
it really, we flip-flopped here. We went on a roller coaster.
Much like Cierra and Nic, we went on a journey.
A tour to Fiji.
A tour to Fiji. Thank you so much for being here. Before you go, can you let the people know where they can find you and your work?
Oh, of course. And hey, happy 10 years.
Oh, thank you.
To you guys. I'm so happy for you. And I love being a guest, and I love chatting with you, because I never get to... Not that I don't miss Emma. I love chatting with both of you, but it's nice to just have some Claire time, and we're both not, having a baby, so
yes, for once.
But you can find me at Us Weekly. I cover a lot of parenting over there, and I do some editing, and I am also just home with my 3 babies. Since I was last on here, I had a baby boy. He's almost a year old already, which is crazy. So that's taking, it takes up a lot of time. It's absolute chaos. It's maybe not as messy as Love Island, but it's messy enough.
It's messy. It's
full of pancakes.
There's still milk and pancakes everywhere, but the context is different.
Exactly.
Amazing. Well, on that note, that's it for this episode of Love to See It with Emma and Claire. Love to See It is a presentation of Odyssey. The show is produced by us, Claire Fallon and Emma Gray. The episode was edited by Jonathan Bahar. Our theme music is by Tamar Haviv, and our art is by Aaron Nestor. If you like the show, please follow us, rate us 5 stars, leave a review. It really does help people find our show. And of course, tell all your friends about it. If you want to get in touch, you can email us at claireandemmapod@gmail.com. You can also find us on TikTok at Love to See It Pod and Instagram at Claire and Emma Pod. And you can find our newsletter Rich Text on Substack at claireandemma.substack.com. I'm also on Blue Sky and on Instagram at Claire E. Fallon. You can find Emma on Blue Sky at Emma Gray and on Instagram at Emma Lady Rose. Special thanks to the team at Odyssey, Eric Donnelly, Aaron Constantino, Kate Rose, Moira Curran, Melissa Wester, Carly Snyder, and Hillary Schupf. We'll be back soon with Bachelor in Paradise. Stay tuned. Can you keep